cloud data forensics investigator. You are a cyber forensics investigator. You are a digital forensics investigator. You are a computer forensics investigator. The cloud is just a subset of that digital forensics. So why would he make these mistakes? And let us know in the comments below.
It almost makes me wonder if the mistakes were intentional.
That's what I was just saying too. Is this intentional? Is it so that he can inflate his ego and leave just enough that he knew they were going to look at him? But that's that Superman status. Like, I've never heard of that in my life, ever. Never. BTK did it, but it was very different. Digital forensics is a gamble no matter what you're doing, because you leave fingerprints with ISPs and or IPs and IMEIs and all these other things, man. I just have a very hard time believing that, but it's possible. Let us know what you think on your digital computer cyber device that could be forensically looked at.
Investigated?
Yeah. There we go. Gosh, why does it pop up something else random? I don't know why it's been doing that. I need to call my dude at Google. Find out what's going on. Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me get the thumb up here. Bam. Man, super excited to talk about this topic. I didn't think there was a lot to it at first. My opinion has since changed, so we'll get through the intro first, and of course, I forgot to pull everything up. Hold on one second. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. Come hang out. Let's dig into this. Why is my camera so warm? All right. I feel like that fixed it a little bit, I guess. All right. So, welcome to the True Crime Talk Show. Bam. Brought to you by ThoughtRiotPodcast. Make sure that you come check us out on all the podcast platforms. Now, we're on everything. Obviously, most of you are on YouTube, and that's where we like to hop on there and interact with our community, with the fellow Thought Rioters. You guys are all Thought Riot Podcast, all of you, every single one of you, and we appreciate all of you. But we get a lot of our views, movement, growth on Google searches, on podcast platforms in multiple countries. We've been on the top 5 for top 5 true crime podcasts, which is awesome, and all because of you guys. Whether you're watching live or you're a rewatcher, we appreciate all of you. And some of the things that help us out are hopping on these podcast platforms like this one right here, which is Spotify, and rating us, bam, and checking us out, and plays and comments and everything in between. So hop on there if you have time, and we appreciate that. Now, for those of you that are big on social media here, this is what I should be doing every single time. I just posted our Twitter. If you're on Twitter, if you're on X, give us a follow and we'll continue the conversation on there. We're also on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on everything, literally everything. And one place that is a really great place to continue the conversation is on Discord. If you don't know what Discord is and you want to join in the fun, let me know, because we've had a couple people that didn't know much about Discord, and actually including myself. And technology is easy for me. Like, I pick up on technology really fast and really easy. And the first time I hopped on Discord, I was like, what is going on here? This is not user friendly. It's kind of hard to figure out. And one of the hardest things to figure out is to realize that there are a lot of chats out there that you have to have an invite. The invite that I am sending to the chat right now, if you have that invite, then you are part of the special list. And wait, why is it saying that's 7 days? No, we want a never ending. All right, there we go. We want a never-ending invite link. So there you go. There's your invite link. If you want to hop in Discord, come hang out with us. It doesn't cost money. It doesn't charge anything. And everybody that's in there is a part of the Thought Riot podcast community and our Thought Rioters. And we like to get in there and continue the fun. It's also a very reliable place to get alerts and updates and let you know what's going on. Now, I just attached the Patreon also, and we do have a free tier of Patreon that just lets you know what's going on, when it's going on, how it's going on, and everything in between. Do I have movie night on Discord? No, but that would be cool. I wonder if that's something we could do. Remember, in the next couple weeks, you actually in the beginning of the year, so it's right in the beginning of the year, we are not, there's going to be like 3 or 4 weeks that we are not going to be able to record like we normally do on Fridays, the pre-recorded content. I have to go to training, and I can't really talk about it any more than that, but it's gonna affect our content creating at least a little bit, to where I'm not gonna be able to do any editing, but I am going to be able to hop on lives, hopefully. So what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna end up transitioning over to live content or recorded content that's not gonna have background editing or any of the fun stuff that we put on there, and continue at least the conversation, at least, you know, associating, touching base, talking, communicating with all you guys, and getting some good content out there. But it just won't be much editing. So just be ready for that. And yeah, back to our thumbnail here. All right, so what we just went over, and Malia should be here any minute now. What we just went over is oh gosh, we're always unedited. We or unscripted, I'm sorry, unscripted. We're always unscripted. But for everyone that's just hopping on here that didn't catch part 1, make sure you guys go over there and catch part 1, okay? It has a lot of the background information of what cloud computing is and how it pertains to Bryan Kohberger and everything in between. And it has a lot of details on there that we just aren't going to go over again right now. So hop on there and all right. Hop on there and check it out. So my big find, okay, like why I felt like this was such a big deal is because when you're looking at the PCA and you're looking at the evidence that is being used against Bryan Kohberger, is it's mostly technology evidence, right? So it is based on his cell phone, it is based on his travel, it is based on pictures and or videos taken. It is based on the times leading up to said crime. It is based on the fact that he turned off his phone during that time frame. Now, what's interesting, and one thing I'm really curious about, is they continue to give you his background, saying, excuse me, saying that he is going for a minor in cloud forensics. But what's interesting is, in order to be part of cloud forensics, you have to first complete and or understand technology, like a computer forensics expert or specialist. Now, what's interesting with that is, when I'm looking at a lot of this evidence in the Idaho 4 case against Bryan Kohberger, if you would have came to me, 6 months ago and said, "Hey, Brendan, check out this case. Look at all the technology evidence against this person. And did you know this person was a computer forensics expert?" I would have doubted it. I would have doubted it right away, because somebody that's a computer forensics expert would know not to do these things. Almost everything that's technology based and used as evidence against Bryan Kohberger is something that a computer forensics expert uh, uh, would know not to do that. Are you almost ready?
Yeah, I just wanted to look this document up.
Yeah, we're gonna be going into that document. I was just
Do you have it?
recapping. No, I don't, but I mean, there's not too many times that Bethany's name is stated in the case, so I'm sure that we could pull it up and control F and find it.
No.
But either way,
Okay.
I put the drip drop video on here. However, what's interesting is that's not the first time that I heard about that document. And we'll get into that in just a second. So, but going back to Bryan Kohberger, I just don't believe, I can't see it. I can't understand it. I don't understand that a technology expert, somebody that has the training, that has the skill, that has the ability to be a computer forensics expert, would make these mistakes that they're saying that Bryan Kohberger made. It just feels unlikely.
No, I agree.
It feels very unlikely. And one thing that I'm also interested in is, why are they pushing this narrative that he's focused on cloud forensics?
Hmm?
Why is that the conversation being talked about? Is it a part of
That
the
is
character assassination
no,
where they're
no,
using that because they know most people don't know what cloud forensics entails, but they do know what computer forensics entails?
no. That's being talked about because it was reported by the media. And
Yeah.
sleuths, people who are interested in true crime, started pointing it out. Like, wait, he had a minor in cloud forensics, so he's like has some kind of education in technology, and you're saying he drove his car to the crime scene and stalked them 12 times and brought his phone, and like he did all of these things despite being a tech expert. So no, it's not being used by mainstream media or the state to make him look
Oh,
bad.
okay. I don't think it's being used to make him look bad. What I'm saying is, I think it's being used so that the general public doesn't have additional doubt in that. That's what I'm wondering. Because if you go talk to somebody that is, in the age range of 50 to 70, just randomly, okay? Not somebody that is technology trained, and you go up to them just random and say, "Hey, do you know what cloud cloud forensics is?" What do you think they're going to say?
I think that they're a forensic expert, a technology forensic expert on cloud data.
Yeah, but that's not what's being said. You're
What
saying that
what's
because
being
that's
said?
the definition that he's going for cloud forensics.
I mean, what is being said then?
That
Yeah.
that he's going to school for cloud forensics, not that he's a technology expert and a cloud forensics.
Well, because I mean, that's a minor. It's not like his
Yeah,
main degree.
I hear you. I get it, but then why are they not just using why are they using the subset of cloud data instead of computer?
Because he was specifically going for cloud. That's what he had a minor in.
Yeah, but
Like,
in order to take that class, you first have to complete computer forensics. So my point is when you talk about somebody, you don't describe them for what they're going to be. You describe them for what they are. So the fact that I see a situation where somebody is describing somebody based on what they're going to be, not what they are, that raises red flags. And even right there, I feel like people who understand that are able to fill that gap in their head, right? So when you say cloud forensics, my automatic assumption is okay, yeah, so they know a ton about computers, like a ton, because you can't even get into cloud-based forensics until you understand the entirety of technology forensics as a prerequisite. But again, going back to my original question, if you walk up to somebody that's between 50 and 70 years old, which tend to be most of the people that are interested in the justice system and true crime, and you know what I mean? Do you think that you're going to walk up to them and say, hey, define cloud forensics to me? How many people are going to be able to do it?
I don't know.
I I think I think barely any. So then when you present it, right? Because image is super important. Image is super important. So if you walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, let me give you a rundown of this case," and I'm going to keep all names out of it, and I say, "This case is, I don't know, I guess 80% built on technology evidence, and this person is a technology or computer expert. What do you think about that?" Or you walk up to somebody and you say, "Hey, this case is 80% technology evidence, and this person is a cloud expert." The perception changes. The image changes.
Okay. I mean, did you look into the program at the university and see if there were any prerequisites? Like he
I
had.
did. What I'm saying is true. You cannot be in cloud-based forensics without first completing the computer forensics program. I know you weren't here yet while we were walking through the premiere, but it shows in the premiere. I have multiple pieces of evidence that says that in order to be in cloud forensics, all the prerequisites are first completing the computer-based forensics to even understand the operating systems between SaaS, IaaS, and PaaS. You can't skip that. So again, it's really interesting that they are talking about him as a cloud based forensics student and not a computer forensics expert. So
Hmm.
why is that? Because that changes the perception of the case.
I get what you're saying, and that kind of goes with what I was saying the other night. Is I don't understand why everyone kept saying, "Well, he's in school, he's a student." I'm like, yeah, but he's going for a PhD, meaning he already has a master's in criminology, meaning he is an expert in like a lot of things when it comes to investigation and forensics. So I don't understand why he's being
Dude,
talked about like just a student because he's going for a PhD.
yeah. And here's a really interesting thing. So did you know when you're a PhD student, and specifically in the technology aspect, in the technology classes, like you're going to be a computer forensics investigator, then you get access to all the police technology based evidence. So we're talking about body cam footage, we're talking about live video, we're talking about past evidence in cases. Like when I started going down this hole, and I because cloud-based forensics is so nerdy and boring, I was worried that this video wasn't going to hit as big as I feel like this topic needs to be. And I do feel like that's true. I feel like a lot of this can go over a lot of people's heads, but looking at the case, and really the only piece of evidence they have, you guys, that's not technology related is that dang sheath. And then he's come to find out a technology expert. An expert. You can't even be in the cloud-based program without first completing the prerequisites of the technology program, the computer program. That is wild. And I had no idea until like 5 days ago, you guys. When I was reading this, I'm like, "Wait, what?" And that's interesting because like when I'm talking about this right here, if you're somebody watching and you don't know the lengths that cloud-based forensics goes and exactly what cloud forensics is, that's okay because I didn't either a week ago. I had no idea. If you would have asked me a question a week ago and said, "Hey, Brendan, do you know what the prereqs are for cloud-based forensics?" I would not have been able to answer. I would have had no idea. None. Zero. I found out when I was researching for this conversation and doing the editing in the podcast. Sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to tell Jay Ray he was going for a minor in cloud-based forensics at WSU. And thank you, AR Hayes. I do sound much better tonight.
Hey, AR. Hello, hello.
I did see CH say he sent us something that there weren't any requirements or prerequisites to get into the cloud-based forensics course.
I mean, there has to be. I did a whole bunch of research on this. You literally can't. That's like, okay, if you didn't just watch my video, let me help you understand. So in order to get to cloud-based forensics, you first have to understand how to get there. All right. So the difference between computer forensics and cloud-based forensics is computer forensics is an item that you can hold in your hand. Okay. Cloud-based forensics is using an item that you can hold in your hand by accessing a network that is somewhere else. And I did a ton of research on this. I bet I could even pull it up right now. Here, let me see. I think I included the prereqs on this video. Hang on.
So his very first degree was an associate's in psychology. I'm going to write all of this down as I'm looking it up.
Hang on. Cloud-based prerequisites.
Do you need to specifically look at WSU though?
I mean, we can look at WSU, but it doesn't change that you have to have these prerequisites in order to do it. It doesn't change anything. So, like, if I were to bring one of you guys to cloud-based forensics, right? And I was like, all right, we're just going to start from square one. Square one is not cloud-based forensics. Square one is actually digital forensics and operating systems, so coding. So if you don't know your coding and you don't know your digital forensics, it's impossible to do cloud-based forensics. Impossible. Because the only way you can even access the cloud is using digital forensics. You're accessing the best way to put it is like a theoretical environment, except it's not a theoretical environment. It's like if you take a phone and you put it somewhere else, right? You ship it to China, but then I access my phone through this computer here, and I can do everything in my phone in the same way that I would in my hand. That is cloud-based forensics. And in order to work the SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS software programs, you have to know coding like Python. You have to know coding like what's the other one? What's the other main one? PHP or something like that. I don't know, you guys. I'm not great at programming, but you have to know how to do programming. You have to know how to manage databases, security fundamentals. You have to know how to do all of these things. It is impossible to just join cloud-based forensics. Absolutely and totally impossible. And then when I was doing research around police work, so when you get hired, nobody gets hired as a cloud-based forensics investigator. You get hired as a digital investigator, as a computer investigator, and then there's subsets within that is cloud-based forensics. So when you get hired for cloud-based forensics, you can do everything. You can do everything. Yeah, and I think most people are like that, AR. I'm pretty good on a computer. I'll say I'm a quick study on a computer because I don't know coding, but I know how to access operating systems that can do coding for me, right? But I can't do raw coding by myself. I don't know how to write a program, but I know how to access programs that can write them for me based on the outline of the processes that I need. So I can work my way around all these things without actually having to be the creator, the builder, the manufacturer of these things. So, what are you doing?
I am getting his all his degrees in a list real quick. I'm almost done.
We can go into it later. It's not worth it on here.
So, Bryan Kohberger's degrees. In 2018, he got an Associates of Arts degree in psychology at Northampton Community College. In 2020, he got a bachelor's in psychology and a master's in criminal justice from DeSales University in Pennsylvania. And then that's when he went on to study criminology at WSU and pursue his PhD. But that's interesting. So criminal justice, because I know that there's a difference between criminal justice and criminology.
Yeah.
Criminal justice would more be, I think, the class for somebody who's going to be a cop. Criminology is more like psychology focused.
I think all of them can be cops.
Yeah, but cops don't go for PhDs.
I mean, they do. What makes you a cop is depending on the cop program that you're hired into. So, like, so one of the police officers that I used for the video that we premiered either on Sunday or Monday, I forget, management. So she went to school for her doctorate's program in something. I don't remember what it was, but it was in something. Then she got hired as a cop because in order to be a Fed, you have to go through the federal agent training or whatever that is. But she's not actually a field agent. She never actually sees any action, but she still had to go through that because based on what it was saying here, they still require you to go through that. I don't know. I don't know. That's just based off what she said, and she carries around a badge. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I think that if you're an expert on some of those other topics, they will subcontract you out to they'll subcontract you out to do work. So
Oh man, Danny, that's awesome. I didn't see that. So his criminal justice degree also was in digital forensics per DeSales University website.
yeah,
So yeah, there you go. He did have the prerequisites.
I know. I'm not guessing. I didn't have the details around what specifically he was doing, but I'm telling you guys, and I don't want you guys to believe me. So I'm glad that you did look that up, but I'm not saying that using guesswork here. You cannot go into cloud forensics without first understanding how an operating system or a computer functions to begin with. So you first have to understand those operating systems before you're able to even access a cloud-based operating system. But I didn't know that a week ago. And thank you, Danny, for finding that because that is awesome information.
Well, what's funny is when you look up these articles of his academic background, a lot of them don't put all of those things. Like this article tells me all of where he graduated and everything, but it doesn't put that he studied in digital forensics at DeSales.
Dude, that's my whole point is look, no one can argue that there's not character assassination going on here. It is 100%, just like every other major case out there. All attorneys and states use character assassination nowadays to control the narrative. They would be stupid not to. I think defense attorneys are stupid not to use that with the expectation that the state is going to use it. It is being done 100%. So then you have to look into the reasons why it's being done. Why is the state trying to make the general population and or public believe this certain thing? And that goes back to my original statement that why are they using cloud-based forensics to describe him when he hadn't completed that course yet? That's weird. That's weird. Because he's already completed his master's program. Why are we not talking about who he is based on what he completed? It's strange. The only reason I can come up with is because of the confusion factor. People do not know what cloud-based forensics is. They don't. I guarantee you. And test this. Walk out there up to a random person and ask them, can you tell me what cloud forensics is? And guaranteed they are going to be able to answer you. They're going to be able to say, oh yeah, you know what? Let me first describe you the 3 different types of cloud-based forensics. Then we can talk about the 5 different cloud whatever. I forget what they call it, but it's a public cloud, a managed cloud, a private cloud, a security something, whatever. And I wouldn't have been able to explain that to you. I don't know how to do anything with cloud-based forensics, cloud-based anything. I know how to access my iCloud, and that's pretty much it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's a good approach, right? And I'm not trying to put people down.
No, I mean it's hard to know exactly what cloud-based forensics is, even if you're like just, good on a computer. Like, it has something to do with the cloud. We all, for the most part, understand, like, we have a cloud. Almost everyone does if you have a phone.
Yeah.
But what is cloud-based forensics? Like, what does that entail? And yeah, I don't think most people would know the prerequisites that you would require to be able to get into a course in that in college.
Yeah, I agree with you. I to test the theory, I asked a couple people just off the fly, and these people are actually in their 30s, and I said, "Hey, do you know what cloud-based computing is?" And they had no idea. They had no idea.
A weather cop. So that's super funny.
Right.
A weather
Right.
cop. Yeah, Cheryl, I mean, I know there's older folks who like to, get into researching stuff and looking stuff up,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. I just think that's the minority, though. And when I speak, I'm speaking based on what I believe the majority of the population is doing, and I do not think that the majority of people will be able to tell you what cloud computing is. Therefore, I think that they described Bryan Kohberger in this way to further verify and validate the technology forensics evidence against him further,
yeah, I gotta
because
yeah.
because I I personally, after knowing this, believe less likely that he took his phone. I'm less likely to believe he would have made these mistakes because it doesn't make sense.
No, you're right, it doesn't make sense, which you're like yeah, you're really driving it home right now. I think we can move on. I think everyone understands that he is an expert in digital forensics, considering that's what his degree is in. His master's degree is in.
Yeah.
So he should be considered an expert in digital forensics, correct?
Yeah, why?
So, I mean, that's
Why
we've
are people
established that.
complaining or
No,
something?
no, I
Then
I am talking based off of me.
okay.
But yes, that's in short, from what you've been saying all this time, he is an expert in digital forensics. So why and he was going to further that education into cloud forensics. So why did he make these really dumb mistakes?
Yeah, I agree with you. That's literally exactly what I'm saying. I don't understand it. And I again, I think that it's because when you're trying to build a character profile in the news and in public, um this doesn't benefit the narrative is what I'm trying to say. Right?
Yeah,
This doesn't benefit
it
the
doesn't.
narrative that you have a technology expert, Bryan Kohberger, made the mistakes around his metadata, around his triangulation or lack thereof, which, by the way, you guys, being a doctorate in the doctorate program, you know that Bryan Kohberger would have had access to every program that local police would have. I should have included that information. I regret not doing that now. But he had access to all of the cameras, all of the body cams, all of the past investigations, all of the investigative files. He had access to all of that, all of it. And then to make such basic criminal mistakes. But so to flip the coin, right? To play the flip side of the coin, do you think he could have made these mistakes because his obsession to conduct a crime of this nature or this crime was so much bigger than him being logical.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean? So, like, was the obsession so great that it overrode his ability to be
No.
logical?
Nope. Nope. I don't believe that, because he stalked them 12 times according to the PCA. Like, if you're going to go with that narrative that he was planning this for months, that's not an addict that like can't control themselves and has such impulsive desires that they're just going to pounce and make all these mistakes. Like, if you are going through, through the motions in your head for months, there's no way you're just going to mistakenly take your phone and your car.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. And he took his phone the 12 times prior. And I'm telling you guys, he had to have known about fog data science. He had to have.
Well, yeah.
It's been around
yes.
since
He had
like
access to it.
2015 or 2017.
He would have had access to it.
Well, if they had the paid service, he would have.
So then we need to try and prove that they had the paid service. We need to look up
Yeah.
into past cases.
Yeah, I don't think they use it for court cases. You can't find that in a court case.
That doesn't matter. We'll just reach out to Fog Data.
I think you have to do a FOIA request
to see if they've made a payment to them.
To see if they have a contract with them. Yeah. I'll try figuring it out. It's just obviously these police agencies, law enforcement agencies that do have contracts with them don't want people to know that.
Yeah.
It's not something they want people to know. We only know the number of them that have contracts with Fog Data Science. We do not know the exact agencies. Other than that, there are federal agencies, state and local.
Yeah. Do you remember what that number was? How many?
18.
18 of them?
Yeah. So it's not that many.
I mean,
but if a state has it, does that give local, like say Idaho State Police has the contract with Fog Data Science, then I think that would mean Moscow police could use it.
Oh, absolutely.
Or if the FBI has it, that means everybody has access to it at that point, especially if it's a major case like this and FBI's coming in to aid them. Then they have access to it now too.
Yeah. So I was just watching videos earlier. Who was it? I know that your name is different on Discord, and you guys' names are. I'm the worst with names. I even forget my own name sometimes. Who shared that video with me about the feds? But anyways, the videos that they sent to me proved that the feds were involved and that the FBI was not called right away. Yes, CH. Yes. Okay. It was CH. Yes. Shout out CH. But they called ISP right away, not FBI.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. But I don't think everyone knows that.
Yeah, I was talking about it the other day, that police officer that did an interview with the media, he said they called a ISP first.
Yeah. But they didn't.
And then the FBI was later, but he did say they were pretty quick too, though. Like they were on the scene pretty much right away too. But you can tell there was a difference. Like ISP was there day one.
Yeah, but okay. So a lot of people like to say that they reached out to the FBI and the FBI was like an active part of this case. And based on what Moscow PD was saying is they reached out to ISP for help. That's who was the priority was ISP, not FBI. FBI, I think if they were involved, which I know they were there to run the science, I get that. but it came on as at a later date. Again, I think it goes back to the fact that it was convenience because they were already in the area for that one case. The major drug bust, you guys, for the major drug bust.
You know, it's just very strange that this case very quickly went to an outsider, which is, I think, unusual. When you don't have, I mean, almost every case you hear about where there's no forced entry, it's an insider. Almost every single dang time.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Like, and to have, like, we all have said it from the beginning, and so has officials have said, you know, experts on the topic, whoever this was had to have known this house very well. Either they are in the inner circle or they have stalked this home and been in this home. And they go on to say, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't find out Bryan Kohberger was in this home at one point.
yeah,
So why, I don't know. I always go back to, I feel like people were cleared too fast.
yeah, I agree with you. And I also feel like that 12 times in the general area, okay? Because look, there is not enough cell phone towers. We've covered this, you guys. If you guys are new here, um, I feel weird calling myself an expert. Like, do experts call themselves experts? It's really
Yeah,
weird,
you
but
do.
okay. So I was in wireless technology for 15 years, okay? So like I know what I'm talking about, right? And it's not a question, it's not a maybe. In order to have court reliable triangulation, you have to have 4 towers, okay? 4 towers, and not only those 4, but at least 3 of them have to be placed within a certain angle and area and apart away from where the phone is. And then the 4th tower is there to just to verify and make sure that the first 3 are correct. Now, they don't have that in Moscow, meaning every lack of tower you take out of there, you probably go from being reliable up to 3 feet to like a football field to a mile. You know what I mean? Like the reliability gets skewed so far, so quick when it comes to losing a tower in triangulation. So when we're talking about his cell phone triangulation, um, we even though they can identify him in that area, what is the range that they're able to identify him? Are we talking about 1 square mile? Are we talking about 4 football fields worth of area? Are we talking about you're able to identify him being at 1122, but the range of area is so big that it includes Main Street where food and shopping is at?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, taking all of that into account, is 12 times enough to be considered stalking? When we don't know if he was at the house.
Yeah,
We don't know.
that's my main issue, is that that's what I said from the beginning. As soon as you started showing me the towers and the degree of uncertainty, because you explained like the RTT time and like percentages of accuracy and all that stuff in the cell tower data video. And as soon as you said that, I was like, but look on a map, like Main Street is right here. He could literally be eating at a restaurant and they're claiming he was in the vicinity of the home or at a store or at a gas station or at a bar.
Hmm.
That was the first thing I
Yeah.
pointed out, was
I
that
agree.
doesn't make any sense.
I agree with you.
What
I
if he
agree.
has a friend over in Moscow?
I agree with you 100%. Yep. I also feel like 12 times isn't enough times for there to be like reliable stalking. Stalkers have obsessions, uncontrollable obsessions, and it's that weird, unhealthy, like needing to control where they're at, who they're at, when they're at, who they're talking to, when they're talking to, like, you know what I mean? It's that weird feeling that I don't understand, because I'm not a jealous person, but like I understand like what they're feeling, just not how they're feeling it. But is that enough time? Is that enough times? Because that 12 times includes any amount of time he would have been at the house, and it could include him just being in the general area. And I want to know if those 12 times, if there was phone disconnection
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and, you know, I also posted an article in the Discord after we talked about the cellular towers and stuff, because there was an article from the Idaho Statesman early on in this case that talked to an expert, and he said, "I hope they don't bring it up in court, because if they do, they're gonna be wrong. They're gonna be wrong."
What?
That's what the expert said in the Idaho Statesman early on in this case before we were ever talking
About
about it.
what?
The cell towers.
Oh, yeah, the cell tower, it's not
There
a
were
maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
theorizing.
know you're not, but
Yeah.
that's just more I posted it because I wanted the problem is with the mainstream media is it's very one-sided. You have all of these people who don't know anything about cell towers, who are lawyers or whatever, coming on and not having looked into it any deeper than just reading it and saying, "Yeah, like, they got him, man. Cell towers, you know, cameras, all that." But then I saw one article that finally was not biased, was just looking at the science, and it was like, they better not bring this up in court. They explained it a lot in that article, not as well as you. Yours is way more in depth in the video, but that's exactly what he said, was they better not bring it up in court because they are going to be wrong,
I
and it's
mean,
not gonna look good
the
for the
defense
case.
should bring it up in court then, because
The
look,
defense should, yeah.
if I'm looking at this court case, and again, for anyone that's on here that's new, we're not looking to prove Bryan Kohberger innocent. We aren't looking to prove him guilty. We're looking to the court case to see what approaches the prosecution might have versus what approaches the defense might have versus how the investigation went, and all parties included in that. So when I think of topics, I try and think of them from both sides. So if I'm the defense, I'm telling you, the one angle that I'm going to take is lack of experience on the investigators, on the police officers. The prosecution is probably going to lean into Payne's. Oh, I wonder if they gave it to Payne because maybe he has the most spotless record.
Wait, what?
Like police record.
Oh, him as
wonder-
the lead investigator because
Yeah.
he's newer, he doesn't have much
I never thought of
behind
that. Yeah,
his
like
name.
complaints,
Brady
or
Giglio stuff.
Yep, Giglio type stuff. I have no idea if that's the case, but I just thought of it right now. But if I'm the defense, I'm going to prove I'm going to angle lack of experience. I'm going to say these guys were not ready to handle a case like this, and let me show you why. They weren't ready to handle a case like this because look at the evidence they're presenting in the PCA alone. They're trying to make it sound like that they have him dead to rights for cell phone triangulation. But if any expert looks at the cell tower map, they're going to be able to tell you that it's impossible to triangulate. The FBI wouldn't go in a court case and say that, you know, he could be identified on this map. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go to the restroom.
He was just handing me Tums. Anyway. Want to hear me crunch a Tum? Is it ASMR time? Do any of you guys watch ASMR videos? It's not my thing, but... Alright, we'll look at some comments while he's gone. Can you hear it? That was pretty weird, I gotta be honest. All right. Yeah, he has ADHD 180s all the time. And Stargate Sleuth, I did see your comment about the pearl necklaces. What about them? Because I know that for that age range, when you look on TikTok, when you look, I mean, gosh, yeah, mainly TikTok, it's kind of a thing. Like, it's kind of a fad for men right now wearing pearl necklaces. So I didn't think it was weird or alarming. It seems for their age, being in college, their generation, and the fashion trends I see online for that generation, it seems to make sense. The younger generations are all about the gender bending nowadays. Which honestly, it's just a pearl necklace. I don't see why it's gender bending. Hold on one second. I have heartburn right now. It's just great. PCA literally has exculpatory evidence in it. I mean, which part? The only part that stands out to me as possibly exculpatory is Payne saying he did the cell tower data stuff on it over the phone with an expert, and then saying that his last ping was wrong. That's all that I see. I'm really excited to get into Bethany tonight, though. Are you asking me how I do my eyes? Are you asking Strange Suspicion how they do their eyes? I don't see that person in the chat. If you're talking about me, I just use a very angled, skinny brush with black eyeshadow, and then I clean it up with concealer if I need to.
All right. Let's get back into it.
I asked somebody a question about the pearl necklaces. I wanted to see if they answered.
Okay, where? About the what?
I'm looking for Stargate Sleuth. The snoring and pug videos. That's cute. I haven't seen those. Exactly. He doesn't need to know that actually, though. Yeah, I'm sure it's odd for some
Always
people
going
to
off topic from true crime. Come back and it's makeup and ASMR.
Exactly. There's some people that like it though.
I mean, not on a true crime channel.
I mean, that is true. That is true about the pearl necklaces, that it is very much an online thing, but aren't all these younger people, especially in a university town, they're all online and all on TikTok for the most part. Like every single victim that we have here has a TikTok. Every single one.
Yeah, they are, but it's important to note that pearl necklaces had meanings depending on what community you're in. I saw people in here talking about certain communities that I'm not going to talk about, but that is true. Those things are true. However, as we've seen, style in adopts these things, adopts these what do you call it? Like whatever, adopts whatever, like a pearl necklace into fashion. And it starts getting used regularly. So I don't know if you guys look at any like fashion images, walkways, the runways, whatever in Paris and New York and all that. But that starts coming down the chain into normal society. So even though they do have these meanings and they will mean those things in those certain communities, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's going on when you see it in the general public, unfortunately, you know, because I know that there's a lot of communities that like to have these identifiers and whatnot. But yeah.
Did you mention that?
Yeah.
Oh. Did you mention the oddity around it?
Yeah, I just let him know that, you know, I believe it was dropped off by a mailman just in a letter, and I don't know anything else about it, and I didn't. That's it.
Super weird, man.
Yeah, it's very weird. Wheeled. Okay, so
Oh, did we just like get rated? Can you get rated on YouTube?
why would we get?
It says True Crime Investigates and their viewers just joined. Say hello. That's like on Twitch, like a raid.
Hey, hello.
Hey, everybody that just joined, and thank you, True Crime Investigates. I didn't know you could do that on YouTube.
Yeah, I didn't either.
So that's super cool.
It doesn't pop up on
StreamYards, yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for directing everyone over here. That's super nice of you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very, very much. I wish it notified me on here. That's kind of lame. I would have said something right away. I feel really bad. So
I mean, it just happened. That's why I have this pulled up here, because I can see things that we can't on
oh,
there.
okay. Gotcha. Well, I appreciate it. And yeah, that's awesome. Super awesome. But
yes.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, hello. Welcome. Super stoked to have you here. Is there anything that pops up for investigates? I need to figure out how to do that, because I would do that stuff if I knew how. I'll start doing some research and figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you guys see on our thumb here, right? Because I did want to talk about this. Is there more that within the technology investigation? A super important thing, you guys, is I don't think I can explain this enough, how important it is to have a technology expert, which is what any computer investigator is. They're a technology expert, okay? They understand how operating systems. A lot of them know at least a baseline of coding. They also understand the actual hardware, how it functions, how it works. They understand metadata, which is probably what they're looking for when they submit the warrant requests for app data. They understand triangulation. They understand calls and audio and how that's saved versus on the device or in the app data or in the cloud. Like, they understand all of this stuff. Okay. And here's a perfect example. I don't know if Bryan Kohberger has 15 years of technology experience like I do, but I've shared this with you guys before. When I was first learning technology, the learning curve was so hard, okay? Everything from having to understand how the towers work, how to access the towers, the logins, the management of the operating system. All of these systems are not user-friendly. They are actually like the opposite of user-friendly, but it took me a year to even feel like I had my footing. It took me a whole nother year before I felt like I understood it good enough to share it with other people. So what I saw some people leave some comments saying that I don't think Brendan would do that based off of hearing him talk about technology. And you're right. I wouldn't, or if I did do it, it would be intentional to be misleading. However, I think I would make that same decision probably after that 2-year time frame. So, like, what I'm trying to say is if Bryan Kohberger has at least 2 years under his belt of technology, learning, investigations, details, whatever, I truly do not see him making these same mistakes. And we have a case that is built on technology evidence. The whole case is. Literally the entire case is built on the technology.
Yeah, except for one really questionable eyewitness.
Well, the eyewitness and the sheath.
Yep. The eyewitness and the sheath are the only two that are not tech-based, and they're both extremely questionable in my mind. So.
Yeah, and I do remember when fax was fancy, and I remember my first phone was like
when beepers
this.
Beepers used to be fancy when I was a kid.
Yeah. My first phone was like this.
So was mine, and it had a baby fat case with the cat.
See, mine was before cases.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there were no cases.
Well, my mom's first phone didn't have a case, and apparently if you took the face off, the speaker at the top would look like a smiley face, and me and my brother did it, and it did. Like, there was this rumor, and there was something special about it. I can't remember what that was, though.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, we had anytime, like, something new came out, we got it somehow, you know?
Yeah, Mara, I don't know if you're just hopping on here, but actually, he is an expert in technology, and So I was telling everyone that because it's impossible to be in cloud-based forensics without first having understand technology forensics, computer forensics, cyber forensics, whatever you want to call it. It all means the same thing. But and then who was it? Was it Sun who went and looked it up? Somebody, one of our viewers who I appreciate a ton, went and verified that he does have a degree in computer forensics from Pennsylvania. So yes, I think psychology is a very big part, but even a minor in cloud-based forensics, the only way you would be able to do that is if your prereqs were first filled in computer forensics. So it goes back to the fact that, like, this Bryan Kohberger was going into a subset of computer forensics because he already had his computer forensics down, which makes me wonder how likely this is. Yeah, it usually is, CH. I appreciate it.
You know what's funny is all the phones like Razors, all the first phones, you know how disappointed I was in them after I bought all of them every time I got a new cell phone, like growing up from like the oldest phones to like the newest phones, I was always so disappointed into them.
You're probably disappointed in everything new you get.
No, that's not true. It was specifically phones. I was like, I feel like it should be better than this. Like Razor phones, I could never store enough pictures on it. It always bugged me, Like,
I guess. I was always super stoked because I had phones earlier than everyone.
The iPhone. That's when I was finally satisfied with a phone.
Yeah, I was super happy with all my phones because I was one of the people that had a phone before most people. So
was I.
Yeah.
But it didn't change it. I was always kind of disappointed in them.
I think I got my first phone, you guys, in 6th grade.
You had a pink Razor, CH?
Maybe it was 5th. I don't know.
Me too. I had a pink one too.
I know. I can't believe how I used to text, and I was so fast at it.
One thing I wanted to clarify, because we kind of figured this out in the chat and when I was looking it up, is that I just want to reiterate for anybody who hopped on, but his degrees were, he has, in 2018, he got his associates in psychology from a community college. 2020, he graduated with his bachelor's in psychology and a master's in criminal justice digital forensics, which I found out that there are 2 different criminal justice degrees from DeSales, and that is regular criminal justice, and then there is criminal justice digital forensics, and that's what he got.
Yeah.
And that's when then he went on to go to WSU, and he was pursuing his PhD in criminology with minors in psychology and cloud-based forensics.
Yeah, I'm 29, JB.
Which is funny because him going for his PhD in psychology and criminology, psychology, and cloud-based forensics fits perfectly with that Reddit survey and where his interests were.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really strange, huh?
I mean,
That he was doing
it's not
studies.
really strange. That might have been a requirement. That's what I keep going back to.
Well,
is a lot of people use that as an example to like, was he putting this together because he was already obsessing over the crime and already thinking about doing the crime, and this was giving him insight into it? Well, to play the flip side, because sure, it could be that, but it could also be this was a requirement for him to graduate in that field.
yeah, and I didn't mean to say it's strange. I meant more that that makes sense, and it's strange that it's characterized as anything else. That it is strange because if you look at his studies and where he was going and what he was interested in, that Reddit survey kind of fits. He was heavily in he was heavily in psychology. Every degree from his first to his last had something to do with psychology, and then from his master's to PhD had something to do with tech. Tech and psychology were like his bread and butter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a Reddit survey about psychology makes a lot of sense, no?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Okay, so this is where I was going. I totally forgot about this. But so we're going to talk briefly about Crime Circus, like we do sometimes. Crime Circus had a video come out, right? And for anyone watching this, I know that there are a lot of people out there that that don't like Crime Circus and actually get offended by his stuff. I know there are a lot of people who actually love Crime Circus. I love his stuff. And I appreciate anybody that puts focus on anything where I feel like it's our jobs as a society to hold these people accountable and make sure that, our protectors are actually doing the right thing and doing their job to keep society safe. And I do feel like that's what he's doing. And he's pretty clear that it's opinion and the way he does it and everything. And he has some amazing information that comes out. And today he had some more really amazing information. However, I did put J is for Justice on here because the first place I actually heard about what he's talking about in his video is J is for Justice. J is for Justice released this like 6 months ago, and she goes into it so in depth, you guys. And in the description of this live here, both of these videos are tagged in there. All right. So I would probably suggest watching the Crime Circus one first and then the J is for Justice one after, and we'll go into it. I want to talk about the Bethany document. I want to talk about Crime Circus's video. Did you ever find it? What you were looking for earlier? Did you send it to me?
You told me to stop sleuthing.
Okay.
So no.
Well,
but I have the name here.
Yeah, I can also
of the
pull it up real
document.
quick. So
Well, it doesn't say like you can't do Command F because her name isn't in the title of any documents. So that doesn't work for that. But you could do witness. You can't do her name.
okay.
Here. This is the name of it.
Certificate?
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually gonna be here. That's why I
Hold
wanted
on.
to look. And I don't see a date on it either.
Hmm. Oh, you know what? I know what to look for. Duh. Is it right here? Okay, well,
Is this it?
what? Yeah, that is it.
Oh, okay. Well, let me send you this link. It's really weird looking, though.
Yep, it is really weird looking. Is that on the J is for Justice
No.
video?
No. Huh? No, this is a document. Like a document, not just pictures.
Sorry about the delay, guys. What I was planning on doing was actually just using one of their videos, but that's okay. This is good so that you guys can check out both their videos after, because we don't like to watch other content on here for those of you that are new, just because we want people to go to those videos and watch those videos. We appreciate all content creators, everybody, even ones we don't
You got
agree
it.
with. So they deserve your views. Jays for Justice is amazing, is awesome. She's come and hang out in the chat before with us. Crime Circus Drip Drop is amazing, is awesome, and has come and hung out in the chat with us before. So, all right. Okay, so
J is for J Ray. That's right.
So, to give you guys a brief rundown, this is a document that was submitted in, I think, March, right? I think it was March originally. This one here is dated the 4th of April. Sorry, I'll give you a quick rundown before we go into
There's
it.
10 pages. So.
Yeah, yep. There's a lot here, but
it's redacted though.
Essentially, what's going on is they're trying to get Bethany Funk to come to court to give a statement, because, as people have heard, there's believed to be exculpatory evidence, which exculpatory evidence is evidence that benefits the defendant. So it's exculpatory evidence. It would benefit Bryan Kohberger in this case, and she does not want to come back to Idaho. And this is something that's been overlooked a couple different times on both Jays for Justice and by Drip Drop on Crime Circus. Before we get into this, okay, there's a part in here that says she is not going to be arrested. My question when I'm listening to both of their videos is, clearly she's afraid of something.
Right.
Why would she think she's going to be arrested?
Right.
Look, that's not a normal approach, you guys. It's not a normal approach to have someone reach out and be like, you're not going to be arrested. When she had her attorneys reach out, they were in communication. She wasn't just MIA. So who was with the understanding that she was going to be arrested? Did she believe that there's something to this story that the general public doesn't know?
So, do you think it is the fact that she left the state without telling anybody, and she could possibly be considered a witness. And when you are a witness or a suspect, or the cops say, hey, don't leave town because you're involved in this, and she just leaves, that could be reason for arrest.
I don't know. I have no idea. I also think that there could be a couple other reasons too, right? We're going to play both sides of the coin here. We're going to play the tin hat side, which again, for anyone that's new on here, that's not meant to be something bad. Just tin hat topics are theories that people don't see in the mainstream media. So we don't mean it as a negative thing. We're going to play those theories. We're also going to try to play the mainstream media side of things as well. So with her being afraid, okay, I think that a mainstream reason could be that there is a lack of trust in local law enforcement. That is not a maybe, okay? You can see that in body cam footage. You can see that in the way that they talk to officers in the body cam footage before the crime. They are literally terrified of these cops every single time, and that's something I don't hear a lot of people talk about either. Their pitch is elevated. They're very twitchy and uncomfortable in front of these cops, and what's even more telling is how the cops now treat them. Something was going on that wasn't okay with the local law enforcement. I'm not suggesting something criminal in this idea. I'm saying that these cops, for whatever reason, were very egotistical. They were very controlling and aggressive, and the literal definition of problematic police officers. And why I say that is because they weren't approaching every person trying to understand and listen to them. It was cracking a whip. This is what we're doing, and if you don't, like, you're going to regret it. And they literally threatened people before.
I mean, these cops in Moscow, Idaho, you should refer to Stickergate, and we did make a video on it, and I honestly think we need to do a follow-up. But refer to that if you want to know how they handle their citizens. You know what I mean? Like, the way you can tell the integrity, the way that you can tell if they are willing to overly exert their authority on their citizens, is when you criticize them. If you criticize police and, say, go put stickers around town criticizing them, and you get arrested for it,
Yeah.
like, clearly they're overly willing to exercise their authority. And also watching the body cam footage of them, approaching these college students. They're so aggressive and rude, and part of me understands that more than Stickergate, though, because kids, college kids are rowdy, they're crazy, they're wild when they're drunk. So I kind of understand being firmer with them. It just, some of the decisions that these police officers made, though, and some of these body cam and some of this footage that we've watched in the past didn't seem like great decisions. Like
No.
letting a guy go and not following up after he just gave you a fake name, like arresting a girl and citing her for being drunk and not the other guy, and saying that you'll make sure she gets home safe and telling him to leave and then making her walk home. Like, just so many things.
Simultaneously careless and aggressive.
Yeah. Right.
Simultaneously careless and aggressive.
Yeah.
It's a very
Agreed.
scary mixture of the way that they were treating people locally. A very dangerous mixture. So, I think like a mainstream idea, it could be that. It could be like somebody suggested that maybe she thought she was going to be arrested because she left or was a witness of some sort. I don't know. Um this is a more tin hat theory. Here's something, okay? Did Dylan and Bethany maybe not see anything? And as the cops were trying to figure this out, helped, create Dylan's statement. And remember, this is just theory, you guys. We're think tanking here. Help create Dylan's statement, but also understand that, Bethany being there could be a problem. So they were like, go home, get not found. Defense got word that Bethany knew something and said that they needed her to come back. And she's worried that, the police are not going to be too happy with that.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or could the police have absolutely nothing to do with it and somebody else is threatening and she's using that as a reason not to come back?
I mean, would her not having seen anything and knowing nothing be considered exculpatory, and somehow somehow put Dylan's statement to question?
Yep.
It couldn't put Dylan's question under the flames, or you know what I mean?
Statement under the flames. Yeah.
Whatever.
I get what you're saying.
It couldn't bring Dylan's statement into question because they weren't in the same room.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Bethany was downstairs, supposedly sleeping the whole time. So how would her seeing nothing somehow make Dylan's statement questionable? So that's what makes me not think that what Dylan saw matters for what Bethany knows. I think what Bethany knows is either contradictory to what Dylan's statement says, because there is no Bethany mentioned in Dylan's statement that we know of right now, at least not what's in the PCA, unless there's more that we don't know about behind Dylan's statement, and that's not the entirety of Dylan's statement, then it doesn't seem to contradict anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I just don't know because of how little bit of information we have, and I think it could be anything and or all of the above. One thing that I do know, though, that we did research on is the unreliability around the read technique and the possibility that Dylan, look, here's another possibility. Here's an honest and victim type possibility and angle, okay? What if Dylan was drunk and didn't hear anything and was put in a room, or not Dylan, Dylan, and was put in a room and the police started angling themselves with the read technique and started saying things like, look, you were in the same house. How did you not hear anything? Are you really expecting us to believe this? Do you really think that you can be in a house where 4 people passed and not hear anything? You got to give us something. Otherwise, we're going to have to think you did it.
Yeah.
And if you guys haven't watched our read technique video, we have proof. We have video proof of cops doing this. They do it all the time. That is a very real statement I just made.
Right. And the FBI has discontinued the use of the read technique because it doesn't work, for one. For two, it is immoral, unethical, all the bad things. But we do have evidence that Idaho specifically uses the read technique. So anyway, I just think there's no way that Bethany saw nothing, because if she saw nothing, then it wouldn't be exculpatory evidence, for one, because Dylan's statement says nothing about Bethany seeing anything. And for two, I feel like it would be like she wouldn't even be a witness at that point. I don't think it would even be considered exculpatory evidence. I think she has to know something, and whatever that something is contradicts Dylan's statement. And that is why it is not in the PCA, and there is nothing about what Bethany said in the PCA, because a PCA is probable cause to arrest a defendant, a suspect, and they need all of the evidence that points towards that suspect, not away from that suspect. And I think Bethany's statement may possibly either put Dylan's statement or the current case into question or point towards somebody else.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way. I mean, why didn't they include, at least in the PCA, Bethany said she slept all night and heard nothing.
I agreed.
They included Dylan's statement. They said that they interviewed both of them, but they only gave us what Dylan said. Why?
I agree.
And they do use the Reid technique on victims, witnesses that are in traumatic situations, CH. I know that you're saying they wouldn't, and that would be a really bad move, but I wouldn't necessarily say there's no way they wouldn't.
So
I think that they could possibly do it, just not maybe as aggressive as they use it with other, like with a suspect.
exactly. And they're not trained to have conversations in different ways. They're only trained the Reid technique, and they're trained to approach conversations, interrogations, and any conversation in from the angle of the Reid technique, where you approach from a point of disbelief, and you come from a point of overstating your position of power, where you're trying to make the person in front of you feel very small. And even if you're having a regular conversation with them, you want to overstate what you believe is going on, because statistically you're more likely to have that benefit you, where if somebody knew somebody that knew the suspect, and that somebody went in there, not the suspect, but the original somebody, and the police are like, yeah, we know you didn't have anything to do with this crime. We just want to have a conversation with you, see if you saw anything that night in the house or around the area. It's just basic follow-up stuff. We have a ton of evidence and information. We are this close to getting the person. I can't really tell you who that person is. I can't really tell you what we have, but I can tell you it's a lot. We got a lot, and we are very close to catching them. That person is more likely to go tell this person and this person and this person, and then the suspect make mistakes, and that's where police are able to pick them up a lot of times, is when mistakes are made. But either way, it's really unfortunate. It's really crappy to use the Reid technique against people, whether they're suspects, whether it's just a conversation, doesn't matter what it is. The unreliability percentage is like 20% or 30% or something like that. I forget the exact percentage. It's in that video, but it's very possible that happened. What?
Yeah. You remember in the Idaho which one was it? It was Howard Blum's articles, wasn't it, that said that Dylan left her bedroom, right? Correct?
Yes, it was.
It wasn't the While Idaho Slept book, right?
I mean, I haven't listened to the While Idaho Slept book, so I don't know.
But we heard the one part that character analysis played that was talking about what Dylan's father said Dylan heard and saw that night.
Okay.
And her perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it was in the Howard Blum articles, and I think it's article 6, where he talks about Dylan supposedly having left her room at some point, but it doesn't go into details of why or where she went. Now, I saw somebody in the comments, I think it was Missify or something like that, saying nobody picks apart the fact that she said she didn't start out in her room. Well, she did start out in her room. That's what she says. But I find it weird they specify that. It says, word for word, I'm looking at the PCA right now. DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. She stated she originally went to sleep in her room on the southeast corner or southeast side of the second floor. Originally? Why did they put that there? And then there's no clarification on if she left a room, where she went. They just talk about her opening her door every time she hears something. And then the third time she opens it, she sees a suspect, and that looks like he's leaving through the back sliding glass door. The male walked past DM as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the back sliding glass door, and she locked herself in her room after seeing the male. DM did not state she recognized him. So the combination of DM's statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from BF and DM's phone, and a video of a suspect video as described below leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 and 4:25 a.m.
So let's go super tin hat, okay? And this is a theory, but what could be an honest reason why there might be details left out here? Did Dylan hear what was going on and at first chance get out of there, go down to Bethany's room, and Bethany and Dylan left the home through the tunnel, and they don't want to talk about the tunnels? Did they run through the tunnel, but they want to keep that under wraps because they think it's going to be a problem?
Wouldn't that be freaking nuts?
That would be crazy.
That would be so nuts. Or what if this all did happen where she sees this person, but after the third time and she sees the suspect leaving the home, she doesn't lock herself in her room the way they said, or she does and then waits till she thinks he's gone, runs down to Bethany's room, and then they take off through the tunnel. Or they just leave the house. Even if there's no tunnel, like what if she goes down there? But do you remember Annie Elise's leaked FBI statement? She claimed that Dylan yelled STFU up the stairs and that she was on the first floor. And all the first reports we heard about this case was all Dylan and Bethany being on the first floor together. So what if that was for a reason? Maybe Dylan and Bethany were on the first floor, maybe not for all of it, but maybe for part of it.
Yeah, I've said this too. I've wondered some reasons why. I've wondered some reasons why that could be, and for whatever reason, people get so mad, dude, when you bring up like, what could be another reason for lying other than just feeling uncomfortable in an interrogation room with police? Could Dylan and Bethany have been doing something personal together? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know why people get so offended about that.
Nope.
Maybe they're trying to keep that under wraps and they don't want people to know because they aren't that. I don't know. It doesn't change anything in my eyes. I don't care what you like. That's your business, not my business. I'm just trying to connect dots why you weren't there, and being emotionally and physically invested in a situation where two people are, doing the thing. That would make sense to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't get offended by that. I just think that it doesn't matter that much. And I don't know why you would hide a bunch of things over two college girls exploring.
In Idaho, it doesn't matter.
It's
that
a college
much.
town. Like, it's not like Idaho in a Mormon community.
You're right. It is a college town, but they don't live in a college town. They are going to school in a college town and live in other areas.
Yeah, but would the court system hide that for them?
It's not the court system. This information does not come from the court system. It comes from the police, which comes from the eyewitness who makes the decision on what they're going to say.
I don't know. I just think it's kind of silly, but
I
that's just 'cause of
understand you think
me.
it's kind
Yeah.
of silly, but here's the thing. There are people out there who still care, unfortunately, about that. There are people that, you know, explore. If you guys looked up the statistics around college kids and the things they do exploring wise with their own sexuality, it's a much higher percentage than I think you would ever guess.
Yeah.
And if they aren't that, then there would be a reason why they don't want to be blasted across the entire world being that. It makes perfect sense. I don't think you need to be shy about doing something like that to not have that information blasted in the whole world.
I just think that if I were in their shoes, I would be like, yeah, we were just, you know, being BFFs sleeping in the same bed that night, because like all girl BFFs sleep in the same bed.
Yeah, that's if you've had time to think about it, not taking into account that you probably just had the most traumatic situation in your entire life, and you're not sitting there thinking, oh shoot, I need to get my story straight because I don't want the whole world to know this. That's one of those things you're going to realize in the moment, and you're like, the cop asks you something very direct into, well, what were you doing 30 minutes before this whole thing started? Well, you know what I mean?
I guess, yeah. I guess I could see that, but so Jeff said he's seen interviews with people who lived in this house before, and he thinks they would have mentioned something about the tunnels. But what if it was hidden well enough? Because it's a rental property. Was it a rental property when those people lived in it, or did they own it? You know what I mean? Like, because if it's a rental property and whoever owns it sealed that off or made it look like it was never there, would they have ever known it was there?
Yeah. I don't
I would like to hear
know.
those interviews. Missify, is it Missify or Missify? They could have destroyed access from the inside to the tunnels before demolition, which would be the delay. Interesting. I thought that was an interesting comment. But, and yes, we've seen inside and out of that home. So I don't think that, like, we've seen a ton of that house on the inside, don't you think?
Yeah.
So if there was like tunnel access that was visible to people, like you could just walk in and be like, oh, there's a tunnel. Like, I think we would all know about it by now. I think the question is there one that is not easily seen?
Yeah,
Like a hidden door.
yeah, I agree with you. I don't know. And what's interesting with this point is, like, is this a tin hat topic? Absolutely, it's a tin hat topic. However, do we know there are tunnels in Moscow? 100%, absolutely, a completely and total yes. 100%. There are tunnels in Moscow. They are walkable size. They do have pipes and electricity and all kinds of stuff running through them. They do run under the entire town. What the only part that nobody's sure about is, does it connect underneath 1122? Because in the city's plannings, in the I don't know if their ordinance, like paperwork layout, whatever, but a tunnel runs literally under the street right next to the house.
Yeah, super
it's not
close.
a maybe.
Super close.
Yeah, this is city approved paperwork. So it's just, was there a cutout, an offshoot that connects to that house?
Yeah, like we
Don't
were theorizing, how old is that home? Because that home used to be tiny, okay? What if that house existed during the construction of the tunnels and the workers built that little enclosure, okay, this little house that they could sleep, eat, rest in, and then have access to the tunnels to go back to work, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because these things have existed in the past, where they have like a little workhouse and then they can go into continue building.
Not in the past. I mean, there's still houses like that. Excuse me. Sorry. There's still houses like that today. not necessarily tunnels, but like when you have a construction team that is building a track of houses, right? And in California, track homes are everything. Like a company buys this giant lot of land and then makes, you know, homes all through it and whatever. And normally when they're building that, they have a house that is like centrally placed, that is done incomplete and full up front, and then those dudes live in there a lot of times while they're getting stuff set up. Then salespeople do, and like whatever. So was there one single house that was the entrance point while all these tunnels were being built, or they were laying concrete in them, or whatever they were doing, right? And could that house have been 1122? It's totally possible. I don't know. But totally possible. Okay.
Did you want to mention that or no?
Mention what?
That?
Oh, the mic comment? Yeah. That, I mean, it's just an amazing possibility. I totally agree that it could be that. So Mike says, or Bethany stated that she didn't hear anything, and the defense can use that to discredit the timeline and then discredit the evidence of BK's car being in that area at the alleged time of the endings. Absolutely, 100% possibility. I think that's a really great possibility. And I've wondered that. I've wondered that too. I know we talked about this a little bit, Mike, when we were covering when Malia was covering the audio recording and investigations, and what those machines are, how they do audio testing and things like that. And what's interesting is we heard all this information about Bethany's exculpatory evidence and all this stuff and whatever, and it got brought up in court, like a couple comments, and then you have the FBI going back into the house. Could the FBI have been going back into the house to test the acoustics in that home to prove that Bethany couldn't have heard anything during that time? And I think that's a theory we talked about a little bit when we were looking at that information. And dude, that is great connections. You know what I mean? That's a perfectly drawn line from step one. Bethany says she was awake during this time and didn't hear anything. And that's literally impossible with what Dylan is saying. And then the FBI goes in to try and prove that when you're on floor one, you can't hear anything, which, I mean, dude,
You think she would at least be able to hear a car or like, you know what I mean?
I
Like
mean,
the DoorDash driver
we're
or
pretty sure bodies are on the ground, okay? At least one. It's so loud when an adult body hits the ground. So loud. You know what I mean? Hey, Tara, gifted 1 membership. That is awesome. We appreciate that.
standing silent doesn't mean that you're not saying you're not guilty. It means it can mean a couple things. But one thing it can mean is that you don't even acknowledge this prosecution because it's invalid.
Is it? I don't know if it's Tara or Tara, but just throw tomatoes at me. Oh wait, that would mean you'd have to no matter what, because one of them's wrong.
But thank you, Tara,
Yeah.
for the I assume
Thank
it's
you.
Tara for the membership.
And follow your lead, because we love all you guys. All of you, all of you. But yeah, I mean, there's a perfect line drawn from Bethany's statement to the acoustics testing. And it's interesting. It's very interesting. So I think that I wonder how successful that acoustics testing would be if with all the furniture out, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's things to it that could impact or affect it.
I'll have to be right back.
So I guess we can go over this document here, and again, we appreciate that, Tara. So let me see here. State of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger, request for foreign subpoena out of state commission. Bethany Grace Funk, affirmation pursuant to NRS 239B030. The undersigned does hereby affirm that the preceding document does not contain the social security number of any person. Good to know. Page 2, index of exhibits. Certificate of an Idaho judge to secure the attendance of an out-of-state witness. Ex parte motion for certificate to secure the attendance of an out-of-state witness. Affidavit in support for motion for out-of-state witness. Let me see here. Nothing on page 2. Did I miss that? No. Okay, so just exhibit 1. Okay, so let me see. Certificate of an Idaho judge to secure the attendance of an out-of-state witness. Having considered the defendant's ex parte motion for certificate, hold on, guys. Yeah, no problem, guys. It benefits us too. We love hearing all your input and all you guys being here. We want everybody hanging out here. We want people that believe he's innocent. We want people that believe he is guilty. We want people on here that don't know and just want to learn, you know? I think we're probably in the middle, and my point is my focus is on the investigation. Bryan Kohberger's an afterthought, you guys. I am not going to look at evidence to try and prove Bryan Kohberger guilty or try and prove Bryan Kohberger innocent. The evidence does that on its own. So if you focus on the case objectively based on the evidence at hand and the people who gathered that evidence, then the outcome will be finding out if Bryan Kohberger is innocent or guilty. So that's why we look at it this way. All right. So having considered the defendant's ex parte motion for certificate to secure the attendance of an out-of-state witness and the affidavit of Richard Betanti in support of said motion and the court being otherwise fully advised herein, I, Megan Marshall, do hereby certify as follows. I am a magistrate judge for the 2nd Judicial District Court of State of Idaho, which is a constitutionally and statutorily prescribed court of record in the state of Idaho. In this case, Bryan Kohberger is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder under the Idaho Code 18-4003, which is punishable by death or imprisonment for life, and 1 count of burglary under Idaho Code 14-1401, which is punishable by imprisonment in the state prison for not less than 1 nor more than 10 years. I am the judge assigned to preside over the preliminary hearing that's scheduled to occur on June 26, 2023 at 9 a.m. through June 30th, 2023. Bethany Funk may be a material witness for the defendant in this case. For the reasons stated in the affidavit of Richard Betanti, the presence of Bethany Funk is required at the Latah County Courthouse located at 522 South Adams Street, Moscow, Idaho, beginning at 8 a.m. on June 28th, 2023. 6. Under the laws of the state of Idaho, if Bethany Funk comes into this state in obedience of a summons requiring her presence at this hearing, she will not be subject to arrest or service of any process relating to matters that arose before she entered the state under summons. So that's the important one right there. Bing, bang, boom. Under the laws of the state of Idaho, if Bethany Funk comes into this state in obedience of a summons requiring her presence at this hearing, she will not be subject to arrest or service of any process relating to matters that arose before she entered the state under summons. 7. This certificate is made for the express purpose of being presented to a judge of a court of record in the state of Nevada in support of an order to compel the attendance of Bethany Funk at the time and place and for the reasons stated above. Exhibit 2. Comes now Bryan C. Kohberger by and through his attorney Ann C. Taylor, public defender, hereby moves this court for a certificate to assist in securing the attendance of Bethany Funk as a witness on behalf of the defendant in this case. This motion is based on Idaho Code Section 19-3004, 19-3005, 19-852, and the attached affidavit in support of motion for out-of-state witness Exhibit A. Richard Batanti, being first duly sworn upon oath, deposes and says, I am a criminal investigator hired by the defense to assist in the representation of Bryan Kohberger. I was asked by appointed counsel Ann C. Taylor to investigate the alleged incident which led to the arrest of Bryan Kohberger. Bryan is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. The deaths took place in a 3-story home. There are 2 bedrooms on each floor, bathrooms on each floor, and a kitchen, dining, and living room on the middle floor. Mr. Kohberger is alleged to have entered the house around 4 a.m. while 6 people were sleeping or present, ending 4 people in 2 separate rooms. The people ended were located in 2 bedrooms, 1 on the 2nd floor and 1 on the 3rd floor. Bethany Funk's bedroom was on the 1st floor. The other surviving roommate's bedroom was on the 2nd floor. Bethany Funk was interviewed by police on several occasions. She disclosed things she heard and things she saw. So that confirms she heard and saw things, you guys. Bethany Funk was present at the home 8 hours later when police were called, arrived on scene, and discovered the homicides. During the course of my investigation, it became known to me that Bethany Funk has information material to the charges against Mr. Kohberger. Portions of information Miss Funk has is exculpatory to the defendant. Miss Funk's information is unique to her experiences and cannot be provided by another witness. Bethany Funk resides in the state of Nevada, and it is necessary to subpoena this witness because the witness testimony is material and necessary to this case. Bam. Interesting, right? So a few things that we figure out in there. Bethany Funk saw and heard things as is pertaining to the crime. And it's interesting that this document goes on to clarify that Bethany Funk says that it is her own experience, right? Which makes me wonder again, using the read technique. So, using the read technique, you guys, we've covered this quite a few different times, but the read techniques, false accusations made are between 20 and 30%. Absurdly high. An absurdly high percentage. Meaning, if there are officers that are using the read technique against a person, whether that person is a suspect, whether that person is general public, whether that person is anybody, just a human being, 20 to 30% of those statements made by people in front of police using the read technique are false. I don't know if that means that cops had a hand in it. I don't know if that means that they did it and or said it on their own, and just due to the high pressure of the read technique, it causes this to happen. I don't know. I'm not sure. But it's telling, it's interesting, it's concerning all the same. And I'm curious what you guys think about it. I feel like there's a lot of evidence here that could add doubt to Dylan's eyewitness statement, you guys. You know, one of the statistics that I tried looking up when I was doing some investigating into the read technique is if the suspect or person they're talking to's age is stated, does that increase and or decrease the likelihood of success or failure around the read technique? Do we actually know the read technique is beneficial? Like, the read technique has been around for like 50 years, you guys. Literally like 50 years. And if in 50 years, if we haven't evolved a process, oh, that makes me worried in any situation. But did we actually see an increase in catching criminals when the read technique was rolled out? You know, I go back to my experience being in sales, right? And if you look at a salesman and how they sold in the 80s, it's very different than how they sold in the 90s. It's very different than how we sell in 2023. Very different. Very, 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 very different. So, why the read technique isn't updated and changed? I don't know, you guys. I don't know. It's concerning though, and it makes me doubt some of the details that we're seeing, some of the situations that are happening, some of the evidence that's being brought forward in this case. It's interesting. It's interesting. And you know what's funny in the drip drop video, the crime circus video, which I'll highlight it. Give me one sec here. Crime circus. Our homie drip drop, who's supposed to go to Moscow with us. This video right here, okay? The OMG video. Bam, bam, bam. Idaho 4, Bethany. Bryan Kohberger investigation. He talks about what's interesting is the FBI showing up at the house after he makes a video. And I can see that being interesting. I definitely can see that being interesting. It makes me wonder right away the why behind it. If that even is possible, you guys, right? I don't know. Would my head go there? Absolutely. I would be like, "Whoa, that's kind of strange. Is that just a coincidence?" And then if it happened again, I would feel even more strange about it, right? But he talks about right, right, Mike. Yeah. Here, I'll post the video of what talks about the read technique. Hang on one second here. It's under expert topics and interrogation room. For later. Check it out later. But yeah, the read technique is scary business, you guys. Really, 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 really scary business. And it's scarily ineffective. So yeah, scarily ineffective. But going back to where was I? Oh man, I closed out of it. Okay, that's okay. Going back to the drip drop video. So drip drop talks about briefly, you know, throwing a couple things out there and then having the FBI show up at the house and then saying another comment and having a statement be essentially responded to, right, in an interview. And it's interesting. It's interesting. Is it possible to happen? I mean, sure, it's possible if there's some kind of other investigation going on, right? There's one question that I had from the beginning. We've heard all this time that the FBI is involved, right? My question has been around their level of involvement. I know that in the Dr. Moore case, if you guys haven't watched the Dr. Moore, go under our playlists and find Dr. Moore Part 1 and Dr. Moore Part 2. In that case, that unfortunate case, they said that the FBI helped them out too. In the Idaho 4 case, I do believe the FBI helped them out with the science behind the evidence, but they were not active investigators in the field and on the case. They absolutely were not. I've wondered if there's other reasons for the FBI being involved. Could the FBI have been involved in the Idaho 4 case because there's something weird going on? Because Rosendahl is a part of this case and was a part of the Dr. Moore case, and there's shady stuff going on within that case. I think there's a very real possibility of that happening. I know we've talked about this quite a few times, but there's certain points in the Idaho 4 Bryan Kohberger case that land really big with me. And of course, I want to share those with you, but this is one of them that's huge to me because when we're looking into the investigation, when we're looking into the evidence, and I'm seeing gaps, right? I'm seeing big gaps in the investigation, the evidence gathering, the house, the details. Yeah, I think I mean Tolson, right? Tolson? Yeah, Tolson. I think I said Rosendahl. It's Tolson. I'm sorry. Everything I just said about Rosendahl, I meant Tolson. I'm sorry. Rosendahl is the police officer that was raised in the church locally. My mix-up. Thank you. Sorry. Appreciate that. But I don't remember where I was going, my ADHD brain, but I was talking about the Dr. Moore case and the gaps in the okay. So the police, and when I'm looking into gaps into this investigation, I start asking why, right? There's always an underlying question for me of why. What's causing this? And why is it being caused, and what's the gain? Like, those are the three main questions I have. So when I see a case that's being managed so strange, where every decision has question marks around it, where every decision being made is counterintuitive, is the opposite of most other high profile large cases out there, I need to know more about why, right? Well, a very big reason why could be that there are certain police officers in this area that are not being, that people know they're dirty, okay? People know that they're doing questionable things. It's not a maybe. It has been proven in a court of law with the Dr. Moore case that Tolson did dirty things, okay? I think that the Brady Giglio could be that. I don't think it's Stickergate, me personally. Like, could it be Stickergate? Absolutely, it could be. I just don't think that is, because we know internal affairs and we know the Dr. Moore case is active right now. I know the Stickergate case is too, but it's not active around police corruption. But the Dr. Moore case is. The Dr. Moore case is currently active and or open around police corruption, with Tolson being the leader in that. Chapstick Gate. So I think the Giglio's about that, right? Now, could the feds be involved because there's dirty things going on within this case? Here's another theory that's completely often, outer space around the Idaho 4 case. So the FBI was already in town, you guys. They're already in town. This investigation into that drug ring bust that we saw in Washington had been going on for at least 6 months prior. Investigations are a snail's pace. They take forever, you guys. And they just had one of the biggest drug busts in state history, if it's not the biggest bust in the state history. And it includes suspects from multiple different states. I think 5 different states, in Idaho, in Oregon, in Washington, in California, and in Arizona. I think it's those 5 states. Maybe it's 6. I don't remember right now. But okay, so let me ask you this. Is it possible during the investigation the FBI started catching wind that dope was being brought over into Idaho? And here's the layout, okay? So if you buy dope in Washington, just 15 minutes away, you would, we'll make made up numbers, okay? Let's say chapsticks are illegal, and this is a kind of dope, right? So if you're in Idaho, you go across state lines into Washington to buy a chapstick for $20 a piece, okay? And one piece is all you need, but $20 a piece. Then you drive back across state lines into Idaho, and you can sell this for $40 to $60. And this is confirmed. This is not maybe information. This is 100% information that was going on in the area. Now, supply and demand is a major factor, right? And they want to make sure that the supply and the demand is being met in that area. Could the FBI have caught wind? And I'm not gonna use specific names because I don't have any evidence for this. It's just think tanking. Could the FBI have caught wind that there could be people in law enforcement that could be the distributor for chapsticks in Idaho?
Chapsticks?
Yeah. So that I don't have to keep coding like dope, But do you think that's a realistic possibility? Based on the things that we're seeing with the Giglio case, with police corruption in the Dr. Moore case, with the fact that one person that was in the actually 2 lead investigators in the Dr. Moore case were key investigators, and the lead investigator, or were key investigators in the Idaho 4 case. Is there more to that? Was the FBI in the area because they caught wind that there is police involvement in one of the biggest drug busts ever? I chew on that every once in a while because it's a complete theory. I have zero evidence of that. But I think it's a realistic theory based on all the evidence that we have. So for those of you that are new in the dope game,
Yeah, because we're all in the dope game, huh?
Yeah.
Oh
So
gosh.
normally in an area, it functions much like corporate America, okay? You have a distributor, the D man, the distributor, okay? And that distributor normally gets it from somebody that works directly with the manufacturer and shipper. Um, and that distributor doesn't ever touch the dope. You will never find them with the dope, ever. Never. They are there just to be the contact for the area. And they actually have the person that runs the dope from the manufacturer and shipper into the area and drop it off at a location where the distro dude or woman will have their runners come pick it up.
Didn't we just talk about this?
What?
This right here. Oh. That cop in Florida who just planted
We
things
did
in
just talk
cars
about that.
for no reason.
Yeah. We did just talk about that.
For
We actually talked
seemingly
about
no reason.
we talked about 6 different cases all relating to potential police corruption, and yeah, it is absolutely insane. I'll post this link here, you guys. You can just save it for later. But I always want to be careful bringing these topics up. One, I don't know how much our viewers know about that criminal side of things. I don't know if I'll be able to land a point and make that point valid if there's not enough experience in our community and viewers. You know what I mean? And I don't know how much people know about how the drug game works and how relatable it is to corporate America. Locally, it's almost like franchises. Each city is a franchise, okay? And within that franchise, there is an owner, and that owner is the distro. And then that owner normally has regional managers working under them. Those regional managers are your runners. Then under those regional managers, there are district managers. Those district managers are your mid-level dealers that like bulk. They're selling bulk, right? And so they're the ones who are selling a zip here, a zone there, now you have your stores under those district managers, and your stores are the dealer, the one that's working directly with the cash coming from the consumer. And normally you want that distro, you want what we just called, regional managers, the main plugs in the area to be well-connected people.
Yes.
So
you do.
You do. And cops, the FBI went deep into Washington for that bust, you guys. Here, I'll see if I can find it real quick just to show you how big of a bust it was. Washington drug bust, December 2022. And you know what would be super interesting? So, and this is total theory, you guys. I'm just making this up, just off top of my head. So let's assume this reality is real. Let's assume that there's 1 or 2 officers in this area that are either the main plugs or the distro, and you'll never see them with the dope, like I said, but they will be the contact to make sure that everything runs smoothly. And that is real life how it works. The FBI catches wind about it. They know that the FBI catches wind about it, right? So they're worried because multiple officers have bounced, you guys. Remember that too, okay? Remember that multiple officers, including Tolson, has straight up out of there. people don't know where they're at. They don't know if they're working in another part of the state. They don't know if they've been let go. They don't know if they're been sent home with badges taken away because the Brady Giglio. Nobody knows any of that stuff. They just know they're gone, literally gone. So let's say those officers caught wind the FBI's onto them. You know, it would be a surefire way to like try and circumvent them be the crackdown coming.
What?
Saying that the FBI is heavily involved in this case and working directly with them. Because when the bust happens, the FBI is essentially also busting themselves because they're working directly with these people. It wouldn't look great.
Huh. Okay. I didn't think about that.
Gosh, what was this operation called? It was so big it had a name. It was a named operation with a multi-joint task force between the DEA and FBI. And it was, if anyone remembers, let me know. It wasn't just the white powder, you guys. It was also the other kind of opiate. It was, oh wait, here we go. Wait, is this it? Yeah. Ah, shoot. Okay, so according to law enforcement sources, December 28, 2022, FBI task force. So this is the
CIA Contra crack? What?
No, that's the 80s.
The drug network opened the first pipeline between Colombia's cocaine cartels and the black neighborhoods of LA.
Okay, here we go, you guys. Wait, is this gonna mess with us getting seen?
You know,
Is this?
I know people who rode some of Pablo Escobar's boats to America from Colombia to come live here. Like
Yeah.
hitched a ride on a coke boat.
I'm not surprised. Pablo Escobar owned that entire country.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. All right, so here we go, guys. I'm gonna not show this like for a long time because I don't know if it's gonna mess with things. Like visibility. So massive drug bust slows influx of drugs into King County, Sergeant says. The bus took 400 pounds of crystal.
What state is this in?
478,000 opiate pills, among other drugs. They got money, they got guns. So the King has concluded a huge dope bust, which they said put a dent in the supply of fent on the streets. A week ago, detectives served multiple warrants in Western Washington and seized hundreds of pounds during its operation. This was called something, and I forget what it's called. Now, it was also tied to...
Oh, this was reported December 28th, 2022?
Yes. It was literally a month after.
So they were actively working on this.
The FBI was already in town.
Right. They were working on this. They hadn't busted them yet. See, because I was under the impression the bust happened right before the killings. So it happened right after.
Right after. It happened in December.
About a month after. Well, that is significant.
Yeah. It's a huge deal. It is a massive deal. I don't think it's outside of realistic to think that there could be something like this going on. I really don't. I haven't talked about this before because I don't have evidence for this. But you know that... Did you know that Kaylee supposedly tried to make a police statement like a month before the crime happened?
About what?
Some local made an interview talking about it. And it wasn't the true crime stuff. It wasn't that she saw that one person. It was something else. I need to pull that information up. I'm not ready to talk about it right now, but because I don't have the information on me.
That's really interesting.
It is interesting. It is interesting.
Heather said she thinks she saw that male related. Interesting.
Saw what?
That what you're talking about, that it might be male related.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. You should pull
I
that up though.
I haven't heard what it's about. I just know that what a local, like, someone who knew her knew was that she went to the police station in person to try and file a police report.
Ooh, that would be a bad one if that's it.
I mean, normally dope and other crimes go hand in hand, unfortunately, you know?
Yeah, and that Brennan's saying it wasn't about the true crime case though. That because we do know that she was into true crime. You know, in the Chronicles of Olivia YouTube channel's interview with the Gonzalez family, she actually prefaces the interview by saying that Kaylee used to watch her videos, which is why the family wanted to speak to the Chronicles of Olivia specifically.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Kaylee used to watch her videos.
Hmm.
The Chronicles of Olivia is a true crime YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about this before.
Yeah. But that's why she got one of the first interviews with the family, is because
Yeah.
that was one of Kaylee's favorite channels.
Yeah. But knowing all those details about the dope makes me wonder, because I don't think that theory is that far away from being realistic. Do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's possible that one of them was an FBI informant. Sure thing. Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely not impossible.
Yep. It's not impossible.
So I want to mention something. So one thing, okay,
That
that
doesn't
I have
explain the Dr. Moore.
that I have experience in is living in a few little towns across America who have overzealous police forces, that when stuff comes down from the politicians about we need to clean up our city, the police officers go out there and bust a bunch of low level pushers, okay, low level soldiers, low level on the food chain for drug trafficking, and they will go bust users and like the littlest of the littlest fish, okay, that are barely pushing anything just because they're easy targets. Sometimes they can get them to snitch and give them bigger targets, but in one of these little towns, the bigger targets were off limits because they were in bed with the sheriff's department. And this is a proven fact, okay? So they always busted little guys to make it appear that they were cleaning up the town when they really weren't.
Yeah.
And it would go dry for a few months and then it would just be flooded. So here's one consideration. I had a friend who had a prescription for Adderall, okay? She was diagnosed ADHD, used it regularly, and sometimes because she was hard up for money and didn't come from a family that had much money, she would sell them sometimes. One day, she sold a friend, supposedly one, like literally like one or two pills. It happened to be within the range of a school, and that friend had also been busted for pushing a pill or two and was snitching on her to meet their criteria of snitches, okay? Like they had to snitch on at least 3 people to get their charges thrown out. They went and snitched on her for selling, she
Exactly.
essentially got set up by a friend saying, "Hey, can I buy a couple of your Adderall off you? Like I really need them to study for this test." And she's not even a drug dealer, really. You know what I mean? It may be illegal, but she's not, like, going and buying it and, like, a part of the whole drug trafficking game. She's selling a couple of her script, and I'm not saying that's okay, but it's pretty messed up to get set up thinking you're, like, helping a friend and then buying a couple off of you, and they do it in a school zone so that it's a way higher charge, and then she gets the proposition of being a snitch, okay? If you, because this is your first charge ever in your life, if you snitch and rat on so many people, we'll throw out your charges. That could very easily happen to a college student in a little town like this where you have an overzealous police force. And some super successful student who has a great life, has a great future, has no criminal history, could get caught up in a situation where they have to be an informant, and they will be because they don't want to lose everything they've worked hard for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to respond to someone too saying the 5-hour thing. So to let you in on a little experience, I was under 18. It was a long time ago, everything like that. But there was a time where I lived about 4 hours from the coast. Okay. And I just don't know how much of these details I want to share.
Just very generic.
Yeah. So 5 hours isn't a lot. When you're talking about one of the biggest drug busts of all times, you're talking about they picked up multiple millions of dollars, over 10 millions of dollars on the spot, plus probably another $100 million of what they lost last year. Like, that's how much money can be made in that. So when I was younger, I've shared this with you guys. I used to be a troubled kid. I had trauma that I hadn't gone through, things like that. I was hanging out with troublemakers. And one thing that we did once every 2 weeks is we would drive 4 hours to the port, okay? Because one of the safest places to distribute and manage and move illegal substances is on water. It is one of the safest places. And there's certain ways that it can be done that the patrol or whatever can't check for, like tying a weight and string under the boat so that what you're carrying hangs underwater, because then when they come on to search, they're not going to find anything. What you have is under the water, very secure, with cameras watching it, so in case something were to happen. But so we would drive 4 hours, and this was minimal, you guys. We're not talking millions. We're maybe talking, 50 grand worth.
That's quite a bit.
No, it's not in comparison to this. So like when we're saying, so if this was on the coast and we're theorizing Idaho, oh, that's well within the range, because that port right there supplies Washington, Oregon, Idaho, probably Colorado. What's under Idaho? Colorado?
Nevada, right?
Nevada. I don't think it supplies Nevada. Nevada's close to the border. I would assume that their stuff would come up from the border, because there's three major hubs, okay? I know that a lot of people think that the East Coast has a major hub. There are 3 major hubs. It is Washington, because that supplies Canada. It is Southern California by water and from the border, and it is Texas. Those are the 3 main hubs in the U.S.
It is Nevada and Utah that are both below
Okay,
Idaho. Like literally half
supplies
and half.
Utah. I bet you it supplies. I bet Washington supplies Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. Yeah, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming.
And thank you, Rumsey. I'll have to go check that out.
Florida used to be Tennessee. It's not anymore.
Texas is Tennessee now, I believe.
Yeah, it is it's Texas, Southern California, and Seattle, due to who's in power below the border. That changed in the 80s. So Florida was pretty heavy in the 80s and 90s, and it changed when the power changed in that area. And I don't know all the details behind that. Obviously, I'm not, part of that stuff. I just, when you're part of that, you hear stuff like that, and it was after that time. And I find it all super interesting, really, 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 really interesting how it all works. But business is interesting. So, um, no, Texas, Southern California, and Washington is the main supply points for the US. On the East Coast, it's different people that manage it. Different people manage it.
So essentially, you're saying the southernest border, Texas, supplies the middle part, okay, and also Tennessee. The
Well,
West Coast, pretty much, that just supplies California and Arizona
yeah,
and
but
Oregon and Washington.
there's two major players that are Texas, California, and Washington. There are two major players there. The East Coast are the same people that supply Europe, and those are just, that's just a different type of people.
Okay. I don't know
So
why. I don't think you gotta be that big. But anyway, where my thing happened to me, where the cops pinned up my friend, that was in the Midwest. It was a little town in the Midwest that happened in. But
yeah,
anyway,
um,
I just saw some people asking.
yeah, I don't remember the names are my weak. I don't remember names, you guys. If I knew the names off the top of my head, I would share it with you. But I'm just trying to share some of my experience and background from when I was much, 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 much younger. And I didn't see that sleuth, but I'm interested in that. I'll check that out.
It was dude, the pictures from the border have been crazy the past few days. It's so many people.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on or why it's that way. I haven't looked into it too much, but it's pretty wild how many people were lined up.
yeah.
There's gotta be something going on why there was that many.
Unfortunately, the border topics are highly political, so I don't want to get into them personally, just because I want to
No.
stay focused on true crime. And that really sucks that these topics get so politicized where
Well,
they split people down the middle. It,
and
it
it
sucks.
sucks that any of that's going on because that wouldn't be going on if there weren't so many war-torn, messed up countries right now, that are run by cartels, that are run by bad people. That's why it's happening.
Yeah.
If people were safe and secure in their countries all over the world, it wouldn't be happening. It's just really sad, but
Yeah. So, going back to that though, I think that's a real possibility. I really do. And I don't know any of the details about it, but I just keep going back to, why are there so many holes in this case? Why are there so many gaps in this case? Why are there so many unexplainable details and instances and things? And one reason could be because there's more to it. There is a secondary investigation, right? Where one life might not be the priority. Maybe this investigation has the possibility of hindering multiple lives on it. You know what I mean? And I don't want to use that possibility in theory to sell this idea that, Brian, of course Bryan Kohberger's innocent because he's the plant by the FBI. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if Bryan has anything to do with any of this. I just want to focus on the investigation and how the investigation is being ran and or managed, and the outcome of that investigation, will be what it is. But while I'm looking into the investigative techniques, some of the details around it, why things are being said that literally are not true. They are not true at all. Maybe because there is an additional investigation going on here that doesn't have anything to do with this crime, but has to do with the people involved in this investigation. You get me?
Not quite.
What do you mean?
Not quite.
What do you mean?
What are you getting at?
I don't want to explain it all again.
I don't think. I think you could just explain a little bit further.
I'm just theorizing that there's a possibility that there could be a secondary investigation going on here that isn't focused on Bryan Kohberger, that doesn't have anything to do with the Idaho 4 case, and has to do with people that were involved in the Idaho 4 case, like police officers.
I mean,
because they want to protect the integrity of this other investigation.
so 2 investigations, 2 crimes that are somehow connected.
No, connected by the people involved,
Right.
because one of them
Sort of-
could be at least semi solved, but there's people involved in that crime that have that are part of a secondary investigation. And I do try and be vague when it comes to names. When I don't have something concrete, you guys, I do try and be vague. Just
Because you don't want to make allegations against a certain person's name.
Not unless I have something concrete. If I have
Right.
something concrete to go off of, like when we talk about Tolson and Dr. Moore, like that's not opinion. I'm not making a stretch. That is literally documentation submitted by the courts who let Dr. Moore out and said that Tolson did illegal stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't the only one not quite understanding what you were saying. So I think it's good that you broke it down a little bit better. But I mean, I think there is a possibility that there's a secondary crime going on that one of the individuals that are a part of this crime could
Not
be
a part of
involved in.
this crime. Part of the investigation.
Yes, just that's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Not like did the killing or anything, or is a
Okay.
suspect, but is just connected to the case somehow.
Okay, I got you.
Could be involved in something else. I mean, I guess that's a possibility. I guess that could explain leaving the state. No? But could they leave the state in that case?
I mean, yeah. There's some connection that makes a little bit of sense there for me. And that's why I laid out the possibility before where let's say you're a police officer in the area and you're doing criminal things like you're the distributor for this area and you catch wind that the FBI is busting your contact in Washington, right? Then isn't one of the best things you could do is put your arm around the FBI and make it appear like you're best friends with them?
I guess, but in the Gilgo, Rex Heuermann case, they didn't want. So do you think? I mean, because they kicked the FBI out of their case because of the crimes of that chief of police.
I mean, the chief kicked him out because of his crimes.
Right. Because of his crimes, he kicked the FBI out, and that did help him get away with crimes. They didn't start looking into him closer or anything. He got away with it.
I mean,
So-
no, he got charged.
Eventually,
Yeah.
but at the time, he got to go years still doing the stuff.
Well, that's a good point. That's how long some investigations take. I don't think they looked into him because they kicked him out. I think that he knew he was being looked into and was like, get out of here. You know what I mean? And it didn't stop them at all. They still went.
I'm just saying, like, so is it better to if there is something going on to bring the FBI in? I don't know if it's
I
better or
think
not.
so. I think if I was in that position and I was a criminal and I was tied to a police force, I would want it to look like, hey, you're my best friend. So if you take me down, I'm taking you down with me.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
I guess. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I think once the FBI got into the Gilgo case, bro, they were on it.
Is that true?
They were on it. So I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting theory. It makes me like the one major thing I have a really hard time with is when people act like there's not problems in this case. There are major problems in this case. Whether you think Bryan's guilty or you think Bryan Kohberger is innocent, there are issues here, and those issues are terrifying. They are super scary.
What the heck? I need to refresh this. Something weird is going on. Where things are popping up that aren't clicked. So just let me refresh to make sure.
Super, super terrifying stuff.
Okay, let's see if it keeps happening. Okay. All right. So, what do you want to do now? Do you think there's any more to talk about as far as like the Bethany Funk stuff? Was there any more to that?
Yeah, I mean, we can go back to that. That's what kind of set me down the path of you know, maybe she didn't want to come back because she knows how dirty the investigators are in this area. I don't know. I'm not sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we've said this from the beginning. Bryan Kohberger could absolutely be the guy and there still be problems. But I think it's important when there are issues in a police force, they're over exerting their authority, doing things that are possibly illegal. I think that absolutely should be called out always. Um,
Always. Because we care.
always. And that is because we care. We want the police to be effective. We want to protect our rights as citizens. We want the system to do its job and work well. And it can't if investigators and police officers are breaking laws or doing things that just aren't right.
Yeah.
It can't. Like, for example, say in the Delphi, case, say that, which I think a lot of people don't think Richard Allen's the guy at this point, but say he is the guy, okay? And everything the investigators uncovered is real and factual, and the case is pretty solid. Let's pretend. But those officers, those correctional officers really did everything the defense claimed, and they essentially tortured him and treated him like crap and tried to force him into a confession. That taints the entire case against him. They took it into their own hands to do something that was not their job, that's not okay, and they just tainted the whole thing. Say in the Bryan Kohberger case, the cops used illegal methods to just pretending, okay, obtain DNA or obtain some kind of data records or history, or they just did something illegal because they knew he was the guy in their own heads, okay? They knew he was the guy. So any means, as long as we can get to the end, as long as we can get to that result of a conviction, any means necessary. As soon as you cross that line of doing things that are illegal or improper, you are tainting the entire thing.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Is that okay? What if they're convinced he's the guy and he's actually not?
Yeah.
But they have all this evidence they think
And-
is real.
And I think what you're saying, Tennessee, is good too, that we don't know 100% anything was done illegally yet with Delphi or the Idaho 4. And you're right, but that's part of the problem is a lot of times, because of how our police work right now, we won't know that anything illegal was done, and it's up to us to figure it out. And I know it doesn't feel good. Look, no one likes being held accountable. There was a time where I was managing hundreds of people, and the only way to effectively do that is through accountability, is holding people accountable, is setting goals with them and holding them accountable to those goals. And nobody likes it. Everybody hates it. But that's the only way to get things done. And when we're looking at cases like the Idaho 4 and Delphi, I think it's left up to our discretion and intelligence to draw connections and conclusions to the possibility of there being corruption and or fraudulent things being done, and understanding that that sure, there could be another case there, but it just so happens that we're here to call it out, and bring awareness and attention to it. And the reason why we do that is because we care about police and law enforcement. And I care. Every clean cop that's out there deserves to have every illegal, corrupt, dirty thing be called out, because people in the general public are treating good, clean police officers like they're the dirty, illegal, corrupt officers. And that's not fair.
The crimes of the few become the crimes of all of them, and they're all treated the same no matter what, because there's a bad rap on police officers because of the corrupt few.
Yeah.
And that isn't fair.
It's not. And we own them.
And we don't have any solid evidence that in this Idaho case anything was done improperly, but we do, for a fact, have evidence of officers that were connected to this case in the past, in Stickergate and the Dr. Moore case, both an actual Moscow PD case and an Idaho State Police case, doing illegal and improper things.
Yeah.
And that matters when we're talking about this case, because if they're willing to do it to get somebody hemmed up for another crime, who's to say they're not willing to do it in this case? And if you take the time in the Delphi case to read that Frank's memorandum and to go and follow up and read all the stuff that Judge Gold did, then you will know there is something improper going on there. No question about it.
Technically, it is illegal.
What
Goal was doing is illegal.
No, she absolutely did something illegal.
Yeah,
absolutely, 100%.
I think it's like 2 or 3 different things. And just can't be explained.
And we have pretty much 100% proof that if the problem is, I think, with the Frank's memorandum, the Frank's memorandum basically proved that Liggett changed witness statements to make Richard Allen's PCA fit him. He changed facts from the witness statements to make it fit Richard Allen. Completely changed it. Like, to the point that it was no longer true. And showed us, the Frank's memorandum also showed us suspects who were not fully cleared, where there were literally admissions of guilt.
Yeah.
Brad Holder said that Patrick Westfall was guilty of being involved. Elvis Field said he was there and spit on the bodies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much there. I just don't know how you could right away say, yeah, Richard Allen's guilty. Richard Allen was under duress. He was under duress, and there's no doubt about that. He was out of his mind he didn't have the same mental capacity.
Yeah, he did say he did it. I just want to highlight that, though, that
he did.
that we already have 100% confirmation that they were wearing racist patches. It's not a maybe.
No, they admitted to it.
Yeah, they admitted to it. They were wearing these racist patches, which are not part of their uniform, and they are not allowed to do it. And we have evidence that they didn't let an eyewitness that was next to Richard Allen's cell go into court to make a statement about Richard Allen's abuse by these same officers that are wearing these racist patches.
He was abused too.
Yep, and he was abused too. So like all the connections are there. Just because our legal system moves so slow is why nothing has been done yet. But it will. I truly believe it. I have no idea if Richard Allen did it or not. If I had to guess, I say Richard Allen is innocent if I'm making a commitment without knowing all the evidence that is there. But one thing I can say for certainty is that he was absolutely being abused in that prison. 100%. You can see it on him physically. You can see it from the eyewitnesses' statements. You can see it based on their affiliated patches. Those are gang affiliated patches. So like, bro, my law enforcement and corrections officers are wearing gang affiliations. What kind of world are we living in? And they admitted it.
I think it comes down to if you're okay with the any means necessary, I don't know, what would you say, method, okay, of cops doing anything necessary to get a conviction, which can result in false convictions. Are they willing to break laws? Are they willing to change witness statements? Are you okay with that as long as you feel like that guy's guilty, as long as you feel like it based off of the public information
and
we're
I'm
given?
not.
And I'm not okay with that.
Even if Richard Allen is guilty, I'm going to go after those illegal actions.
Yeah. And, you know, I cannot say whether Richard Allen is guilty or not, but I will say that I know 2 defense attorneys are literally putting it all out there. They're putting it all on the line for this man, for one. They wrote a Frank's memorandum, which is literally an anomaly in the legal system that makes no sense. You know what I mean? Like that has never happened before from what we've seen, is a Frank's memorandum giving that much information on background investigations of the case. You know, we just covered
they were in fear for Richard Allen's life, I think.
Did the Ferenczi video come out yet?
Hmm?
The FBI, he was a part of the FBI task force. Okay. Well, I mean, Richard Allen, yes, he admitted to being there, but he also came forward willingly. They didn't know he was there. He came forward willingly and gave a statement when they put it out on the news and were like, you know, 2 little girls were murdered. Anybody who was there that day, please come give a witness statement. He came willingly, just like all the other witnesses, and gave a statement saying, yeah, I was there that day. This is what I did. This is what I saw. You know what I mean? And they lost it and randomly just unearth it years later and say, this is the guy, and then falsify witness statements, and then put him in prison, not county jail, and he's under duress and being abused, and he says he's guilty over the phone to his wife. And there's so many facts behind that it's like, oh, I don't know, man. Yeah, but you know, the witnesses say they saw a tan coat, not a blue coat. So, and
yeah,
I don't know.
Going back to,
they didn't find any DNA on the coat. You know, there's a lot of details in that case that's too much to get into right now. But you know, I just would suggest anybody who's interested in the Delphi case to read the memorandum, read the PCA, read the documents that are out there. Sleuthy Goosey posts new stuff all the time. The Defense Diaries is covering the case extensively. And, you know, we cover it as new info comes out. But there's a lot of issues there. A lot of issues. And I just don't feel comfortable. I mean, the Delphi case for me, I am even less comfortable with than I am the Idaho 4 case. I think
not
there is
me.
a huge possibility in the Delphi case of deep, deep-seated corruption. Like, deep-seated corruption, okay? Mega. Especially when you start talking about the Florida fires and other arsons in the area. It gets real scary.
Yeah, so but going back to the Idaho 4 case,
Yeah.
I think, like, what I was trying to say before we went down that tangent is there are absolutely things that can be proven to be mishandled in the Idaho 4 case, right? And we did one just a few days ago with the evidence on scene. That's not a maybe. That's one thing you can look up and verify yourself, that
Hold
there
on.
was contamination going on there. And no, it's not a lice comb, but I do use one. Lice combs for beards are awesome for short beards. But so
Gross.
what do you mean? It's just
But
tighter.
I wanted to say one thing. Richard Allen didn't own a PT Cruiser. He owned a black Ford Focus, which looks nothing like a PT Cruiser, Kimmy. That's why I suggest reading the Frank's memorandum. But okay, move on. Back to Idaho 4.
Yep, going back to the Idaho 4 stuff is, you know, there's a lot of areas where cops are making mistakes in here. And, you know, I'm the type of person too, because I understand people are people, and we as a whole make more mistakes than we get things right. And that's just part of life. And, you know, I find that a lot of people that are really successful in life are people that get okay with making mistakes. So taking that into account when you are looking at a case, if there's minor details that are different, right? Just minor things, I completely get it and understand it. But when I see major issues, when I see key pieces of evidence like that will be relied upon with just flat out assumptive lies, like the cell phone triangulation, I personally feel like that I have to call it out, because those are my cops. I own them. Every citizen in the US owns your cops, not the other way around. We own that badge, and we loan that badge to the officer that's filling that position. Why we own that badge is because we pay for that. We pay for the politicians who set the precedents for the police officers. We literally own them, not figuratively. Like, that is their, you know, the police's statement is protect and serve. What do you think the serve part means? Serve us, servants of the public.
Yeah.
And that might sound over the top, but that's why we're calling for accountability. That's why we're calling for 24/7 body cams. Well, obviously not when they're off. I mean, 24/7, as long as they're on duty, as long as you're interacting with people, you should be wearing a body cam. There's no such thing as police officer privacy. That doesn't exist, because your entire job is owned by the public. It is a public position. So in my opinion, it needs to be recorded to verify these things won't work. And, or I mean, to verify that these things are being done correctly and work. And, you know, when I was looking up the police corruption, you know how many times body cams saved police officers? A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of times. I probably saw like 5 to 10 different videos where somebody of the public was claiming police corruption or having something, you know, put on them like a dope bag or
Yeah,
whatever.
plant.
And the body cam saved that officer. It's not like the body cams only serve the public. They serve the officer that's wearing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So in these situations, if these officers in the Idaho 4 case, not the Delphi case, I mean, because a lot of people in question in the Delphi case are corrections officers, which
No, it's police officers too.
yeah, but what we were just talking about wasn't police officers.
I was
It's
talking about
focused-
Tony Liggett. He is in
Yeah,
question.
I get it, but the main storyline right now in the case is not Tony Liggett. It is Richard Allen's housing, and that's like what is focused on the most right now. I'm not saying that police officers aren't also dirty, but the main issue right now is the prison housing, getting him switched over. I mean, that part of the trial isn't there yet. It's not open yet. They're not verifying and following up on the police statements yet. So, but going back to the Idaho 4 stuff, people have questions around the sheath. People are wondering, was the sheath planted? Was the DNA planted? You know what would fix all of that? Body cam. There's no question. The only crime that can happen with body cam is stamps being manipulated.
I mean, I think the issue in these cases is that everything is so secretive. Like in the Delphi case, we have a judge literally going out of her way to hide evidence to the point, and documents, court documents, to the point of literally doing something illegal. In the Idaho 4 case, you have, you know, them putting a gag order, like a really strong gag order. You know, in the beginning of the Idaho 4 case, they acted like it might almost be like a temporary gag order. That stuff, it never opened back up. We're just as lost as we were from the beginning, pretty much, except for what we can weed out of documents that they've released, redacted documents at that. So I think the real issue is that, and I'm not saying the police are incompetent or have done anything corrupt for a fact. We don't know everything, but there's definite, for sure, red flags.
There's signs.
There are signs that make us have to wonder, and it's something to talk about. And if at the end of the trial we see, wow, they did amazing work, I am going to give kudos to those police officers.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to continue to criticize them or to speculate about their corruption.
I will.
I mean, in
it's
this
my
case,
job. They're my officers.
In this, if they did everything right.
Oh, yeah. If they did everything right.
If they did everything right and everything looks good and those red flags turn out to be nothing, then kudos to them and it's over, whatever. You know what I mean? But when we see red flags in an investigation, I feel like it is important and imperative for citizens to inquire and ask what's going on here.
But it's not questions in the Idaho 4. Like, there is things wrong right now that are proven wrong.
Okay, so why don't you point out some of those things?
I mean, we just talked about it the other day on the video.
Okay, so but we're talking about it now. So point out some of those things.
I did just like 5 minutes ago, but I'll do it again. The scene.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. The handling of the crime scene
around the cell phone triangulation. Those aren't maybes. That isn't true. 100%. That isn't true. The only way that they could have his location is through his background application data. That is the only way. And that is not what's said in the PCA. What's said in the PCA is that it was triangulation. So why lie?
True. It does say in the PCA it's triangulation.
It's a court document. So why lie?
Yeah, maybe I think they just used that for probable cause, and then they were going to go do all those search warrants to try to get geolocation data, like you were saying. That was Well, we know he was in Moscow, though we can't pinpoint him at a specific spot. So let's just say this, because we have some car footage. We have, his cell phone at least says he was in this area, maybe not at the house, but we'll use that for probable cause and then hope, just like with the car. They hoped there would be DNA in it. They hoped they would find something there. And
Yeah,
they
but you
didn't,
can do
according
that
to what we
without
know. So,
lying.
did they
You're supposed
say
to be the good
we have
guys.
cell phone triangulation showing he was in Moscow 12 times and on his way to Moscow on the night of the murders, south of Moscow on the night of the murders after the crimes, and then hope that geolocation data somehow fills in the gaps for us and can put him at this house and show and prove that he had a connection after his arrest when we can get those search warrants?
I mean, they could have done it without lying. They could have. 100% they could have. But you got to be transparent about these things, especially when we showed that statistic that half of America believes police are corrupt. That's huge. I'm a police supporter, but I'm a police supporter for police officers that are doing respectable, good work. Listen, I would not be a police officer, you guys. I would not do it. The amount of crap that they have to deal with, how hard their job is, if they're doing it right, how they should be putting themselves before the rest of the general public. That is a really hard job. And that takes a very specific type of person. And I take my hat off to them because, whoa, I couldn't do it. I could not deal with people like that. I just couldn't do it. It is so hard. And we just watched that one story where a cop got his ear bit off when he thought he was doing a normal traffic stop. Like, these are things that our cops have to deal with every day. It is a horribly scary, tough job.
Yeah,
And
it is for sure.
I commend the heck out of them. But when somebody is doing something wrong, they deserve to be held accountable. They deserve it. And making a mistake isn't what I'm talking about as being wrong. What I'm talking about is intentionally doing something wrong, intentionally lying to mislead a story and or case in the favor of whatever you're trying to push.
So why don't you explain a little bit more why you feel like the cell phone triangulation is a complete lie? Because Payne said he did it over the phone with an FBI cast agent?
Yeah, I can go into it. We've just covered it quite a bit.
Yeah,
and in
we
our
have.
video, but so the reason why it's a lie is because there aren't enough towers in that area to have proper cell phone triangulation. And Payne says in the PCA that he got on the phone with a cast member. Okay. One, a cast member couldn't walk somebody with zero knowledge through cell phone triangulation. That's impossible. If I called any one of you and said, hey, let me walk you through how to triangulate a cell phone, I couldn't do it. I would not be able to do it. It is impossible. I would either have to be there and do it myself or do it myself. Like, there isn't another option. That's under the assumption that there's enough towers in Moscow, which there isn't. The other part of the triangulation is the way he says that he triangulated it is leaving out very major important key aspects of getting proper triangulation. So step one of getting cell phone triangulation is to first get all the information from the cell phone company. And by information, I'm talking about the RTT time, the round trip time, and the rough guesstimation of your location based on the tower's placement. Then you mark each area that it could be in circles, and then you go on site. On site. You cannot triangulate without going on site. And then you verify that tower's reliability, and and that it matches all the specifications and that it meets its certification before you can then move forward with triangulation. In order for triangulation to be accepted in court, not geolocation, triangulation, there has to be 4 towers, not 3. This area maybe has 2. Maybe has 2. And only 1 full-size tower. The other 2 are mini cell tower sites, which are not as strong and or in-depth of coverage. More often than not, small cell tower sites are for 5G data. They're supposed to be like backfill so that you can have faster speeds because there's a bulk amount of people, which it makes sense because the 2 small tower locations are on buildings or heavily populated areas of the school. So when Payne says that he did that or whatever through the phone, he's lying. It's impossible, 100% impossible. And I feel like he could have given the real information, the legitimate data from the cell phone company, without lying.
So he didn't say he consulted with multiple people. He said
No, 1 cast member.
one cast
That's what
member.
I said.
Yeah, which
On the phone with 1 cast member.
So I think where the multiple people is coming from is he said, based on my training, expertise, and conversations with law enforcement officers that specialize in the utilization of cellular telephone records as part of investigations, individuals can either leave their cell phone at a different location before committing a crime or turning their cellular receiving a search warrant, getting the historical one, and using the knowledge he got from this cast member. He says, I was able to determine estimated locations for the 8458 phone. He himself, after consulting with
And it's
1
not
cast member, 1.
It's literally not possible.
The only time he talks about people is when he's talking about the phone being off. So clearly he ran it by other people like, why do you think his phone was off during this time? Do you think that means something? You know?
Yeah.
But that's completely separate from the triangulation. He talks about literally talking to 1 agent and then doing it himself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's impossible. It is absolutely and totally impossible. And I just feel like he could have been honest, man. Yeah. If you guys have any questions, I know I've talked on cell phones a lot, but that's my expertise. I can give you anything you need to know about cell phones and or triangulation. You know, what they should have said in there is they should have said that we pulled cell phone data from AT&T. That cell phone data from AT&T, based on the towers that we do have in the area, appear to show Bryan Kohberger coming to Moscow in these times, on these days, and this is what we believe he was doing based on video evidence and whatever, okay? If we get a search warrant for his metadata and background application data, then we will be able to get a better understanding of what was going on in this area. And what's interesting is, remember, we started today off with Bryan Kohberger was a technology expert. He was a computer forensics expert, specializing in cloud data. So, do you think he would make these mistakes? I wouldn't make these mistakes. But
Yeah, but there's tons of defendants where, you know, they claim to have a lot of evidence. Like, I feel like it might be helpful. Maybe we should start going through some instructive cases that help um where people where cops got tunnel vision, and like if you were looking at it through the lens we're looking at
Yeah.
this case right now, where there's a gag order and this is all we have, it looks damning to like the you know, to the public and to anybody who's on looking, and then later they're exonerated like Dr. Moore. Like if you looked at Dr. Moore's case originally, I'm sure a bunch of people in Bonner's Ferry were like, oh my gosh, he really did this. His truck was there. His truck was there. He was
Yep.
there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But they literally threatened his alibi witness.
And also,
Like,
have you seen those test studies that show how much people trust authority figures like police officers?
no.
Where who was just talking about this? Somebody was talking about this, and it's a really good example because I have seen those videos. But so they set up a scene where there was a whole bunch of people like humped over and looked like they were dead and on a busy walkway, and then they had a person go out there that looked like a police officer and was guiding people onto it, and I forget what they made it look like was killing those people, but they made it look like something was. And because these people trusted these officers so much, just by visual confirmation, they would walk in through that horrible scene of what made it look like if you walked in there you were going to die, and they did it because a police officer told them to. It was gnarly.
What?
Yeah, the level of trust. It's interesting. It's interesting. The sociology behind that is like, or the psychology behind that is super interesting. It makes me wonder where it starts from. Is it just that we're trained to respect authority figures from the beginning? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but it's interesting to think of what causes that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um Mass manipulation of consciousness. It could be. It could be. I'm not. Yeah. Mus-
Mhm.
Okay.
It's
So,
look.
yeah. What is my other stuff I had here? Okay. Um, yeah, so we talked about the drug bust stuff. That's good. Uh, Responses. Yep. 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 So I'm curious. What do you think? I just want to touch on this real quick. So, what do you think around the idea of there being people implanted like actors into the true crime community to try to push people's opinion, to try and alter and guide true crime creators' opinions?
What did you ask me?
I said, what do you think about this idea? This is something that Drip Drop brought up in his video. Okay. So, what do you think about the idea of people being implants or actors that have been implanted into the true crime community to try and sway true crime creators' content and opinions? Do you think it happens?
Like literally on payroll?
Well, yeah, on something, yeah.
Mm, I don't know. I don't have enough I don't have enough to know.
Hmm.
I know there's Russian troll farms, but do we an actual content creator? Is it someone just making animations, or is it somebody who's literally getting in front of the camera like you and I and talking, and there's a face to the voice?
No, I mean anybody. I think that it's more likely that it is watchers and viewers manipulating true crime content creators' opinions.
Somebody who's literally like a disinformation person.
No, somebody that is there to manipulate the content creator's opinion.
Mm.
I think that it happens.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think it happens as long as there is a gain for it. What is the gain? I don't know what that gain is. I'm not sure. But I think it's possible. I absolutely think it's possible.
I mean, I think all you need is mainstream media to do that.
No way. What? Nobody watches mainstream media.
That's not true. Everybody does, but just takes it with a grain of
Oh,
salt.
that's not true. That's not true. That's why they're all going under. That's
I
why
don't-
they're all coming to YouTube.
I don't mean watch it. I mean they all read from it.
Oh, I don't believe that. I do not believe that.
We pull up news articles all the time.
Yeah, and I also look at the stock market. They are not doing good. People are not watching them. Those companies are going under unless they've evolved.
Yeah, a lot of them are getting views on YouTube.
So I think it's very possible. I think that there have been people that have reached out to us even and tried to sway opinions and things like that. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I'm not 100% sure. I personally wouldn't change my opinion, but you know,
I'm not saying it's totally impossible, but I don't know who would be doing that. Like who would you say is hiring people to do that?
I mean, I don't know.
Like lawyers?
I don't know. What I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But
Well, I'll be right back.
yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons that would take a lot of explaining in the examples of why. Some of those reasons could be financial gains. Some of those reasons could be a whole bunch of different things. I mean, it could be that when a major news story is coming out, if we have people that are talking about that news story in other chat rooms, that could build interest in that story. So that creates financial gain. Just the fact that there's interest being built, right? Now, let's talk about the importance of people being aware of certain topics. I think that yeah, I agree with you. I'm honestly kind of surprised that Malia felt the way she did. Because I'm sure of it. I mean, I'm sure of it with Russian troll farms. You know what I mean? We know it happens. So, do we really think Russia's the only one that's caught on to the benefit? I don't think so. I think that I think there's enough evidence there that that we can see it happening. I mean, in my opinion, I think every major country on the global field is probably doing it. I really do. I really do. Um I don't think you need to be brainwashed either, you guys. So when I went to school, I went for a Bachelor of Science in Business Management and a a minor in marketing, and when I was learning my marketing courses, it goes into a lot of psychology of the human brain, because in that psychology arena, whatever, is where you find marketing gold. Okay. And here I'll give you a few examples. So use, what are they called? Is it the prime colors? The prime colors are the red, blue, and yellow. So when you're using a when you want to draw interest, when you want to pull interest, it doesn't make people want to buy that or anything like that. But when you want to draw interest, like primary, thank you. You need to use red, blue, and yellow. And I forget the science behind it. I'll pull out my textbook. I'll do a story on this because it's really interesting, and it makes you wonder how many of these things can be applied to situations of, manipulation for other marketing tactics, whether it's stories or whatever. But you include red, blue, and yellow, and it automatically draws attention to our eyes. We pick it up subconsciously, even if we don't make a conscious attempt at looking at those colors. Now another thing that does it too is certain shapes, and certain shapes are pyramid shaped things. Watch, I'll get called Illuminati. So pyramid shapes are pleasing to our eyes. So in a time of stress, we're more likely to look at shapes like that. So if you have a marketing picture or whatever that you want people to look at, or you want it to be pleasing to the eye, which making a picture pleasing to the eye isn't always the best marketing technique either. Sometimes doing the opposite works also, depending on a multitude of factors. Most of it hinders on emotional, like where your target audience's emotional status is. That plays into that a lot, because our feelings subconsciously make us want to relate to against our will, like against our will. That course taught me so many things about human behavior and what we're doing on a subconscious level versus a conscious level, and so on. I think I dropped for a second. Okay. All good. Man, collective consciousness is so interesting, Rolo. And there's actual real evidence around that too. And yeah, sorry about that. If I'm still frozen, just refresh your screen. But yeah, there's evidence around um collective conscious. So there was a scientist who came out in like the 80s or 90s or something like that. And what they did is they put two people that didn't know each other in two separate rooms with a wall behind them, and put headphones and goggles on them, or a TV in front of them or something like that. And on one of them, they put on a light show and music, and they had brain monitors on both of them. And the one that had the music and the light show had all these, brain light ups, whatever. The other one that didn't have music and video had no response. Obviously, there was nothing going on to cause a response. Now, they put those two guys in a room together to live together side by side for 6 weeks or something like that. Then they took them out, put them each in a room separated from each other, and then did the same test. They put the brain cap on and gave one of them a light show with music, with a screen in front of them, and the other one they didn't. But what's interesting this time is both of their brains reacted the same. When one of them that wasn't getting the light show and music was reacting like he was getting it. Yeah, and this science experiment was done 3 or 4 times or something like that. So it was repeatable, provable, and super interesting. But yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. I think that is the show tonight. That is it. Maybe. Hold on. All right. So I appreciate all of you for being here. My stomach is feeling a little bit better today. Earlier it wasn't, but it's feeling a little bit better today. Malia was just saying to me that her stomach was hurting though. So I don't know if it's like if it's the consciousness thing or if it's just sickness, right? But we appreciate all of you for being here. Make sure if you're not added on our social media, you hop on there and get on our Twitter. We're on every podcast platform, you guys. We are Thought Riot, True Crime, and Criminal Culture Podcast. And what we're on right now is the True Crime Talk Show by Thought Riot Podcast. No, she's not. We have a family member here, so yeah. But this is the True Crime Talk Show, and here is our Twitter. We're still trying to grow that bad boy. She's problem solving right now, is what I meant to say. And just to let everybody know too, we have members only videos out there now. Awesome. And we're going to be making more. I think I'm actually going to put one up tomorrow. I'm going to try and get in a bunch of content now because of where I have to go in a few weeks, like I was telling you guys about. I'm just not allowed to talk about it, but I got to go to training somewhere, so I'll be away, and we'll try and make content. We'll try and get that all done, but I don't even know where I'm going to be. I just know it's in Virginia, but I don't know where. I don't know if I'm going to have reliable connection. I don't know if I'm going to have any of that stuff. But right, yeah, I'm gonna imagine doing the podcast in jail. Pay off the cops so that they give me computer time. That'd be super funny. Super funny. I wonder if I could reach out to like the jailers in that's watching Bryan Kohberger and pay him like 10 grand to do a Kohberger interview. How much trouble you think I would be in if I did that and then posted it on YouTube? It'd be super interesting. But yeah, make sure you guys, if you're not on our social media, come hang out with us more. And you know, I just sent our, what is going on here? I just sent our Twitter. Here's our Instagram, and then I'm gonna post our Patreon and Discord is really the two places, you guys. If you want alerts, if you want to stay up to date on what's going on, those are the two places. And just a reminder for everyone too, for our goals, we I mean, I can give it is our goals is to get to a full-time position, but the only way that we're willing to go full-time is if we have supplemented in at least the minimum, you know. Once we go full-time, we're going straight up full-on network, you know. We already got investors, we're good to go. It's just pending. So we just got to have the subs and members to match that financial interest. But so if you want to join Patreon and help us out, please do. We appreciate it. We'd love you for it forever. And if you can't, that's okay too. We still appreciate you all the same. And I think that is everything. Yeah, sales works in a lot of interest. Like the whole world runs on sales, you guys. The whole world does. I've been in industries where I'm not like selling something like it's not a product, it's an idea. But Malia says thank you. And we appreciate all of you. Hit that like button, leave a comment, you guys. It helps us go a long way, a long, long, long way. Yeah, we've been the target again lately to content creators. And it'd be nice not to have to make that call every other day to have it fixed, but you know, it is what it is, and any engagement is free and helps us out. So you know, that just helps us get to our goals where we want to be, of getting full-time and making more content more regularly for you, by you, with you. And no, J Ray, what? But yeah, we appreciate all of you. This is the True Crime Talk Show, brought to you by Thought Riot, and I am out. Do you want to say bye?
Bye. Sorry it took so long. Oh, thank you, Justice, for the membership as we're closing it out.
Yes.
We appreciate that.
All right, guys. We will see you later.
Yes. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.